Shocking, the Ying-Chan Alliance army of 150,000 was annihilated in the Ruakai Mountains, with 40,000 dead or injured, and 110,000 surrendered. A whole new type of transformed person, Jekka Group disregards human morality, conducting biochemical modifications on the human body. Is this a symbol of human evolution or the root of self-destruction? Jekka Group's research on biochemical human body transformation, is it a blessing or a curse? Perhaps we've made errors in the human technology tree. The potential of the human body exceeds imagination. The arrogant Japanese army paid the price for its rashness, plunging headfirst into the trap set by the Jekka Group in the Ruakai Mountains, leading to such a tragic outcome. The following day, news media around the world almost unanimously placed the results of the battle at Ruakai Mountains, as well as information about the genetic warriors, on the front pages of their reports. The battle at Ruakai Mountains, due to the terrifying combat power of the genetic warriors, reset the world's perception of human potential. Governments and the public alike, upon seeing the genetic warriors, the battlefield footage recorded and uploaded by those affected, and the images captured by reconnaissance drones and satellites, were flabbergasted and sparked widespread discussion. The Jekka Group's official website just announced that the soldiers that appeared in Ruakai Mountains are officially known as genetic warriors. Just hearing it suggests it's related to human genetic modification. Jekka Group's level in biochemistry and medicine is simply terrifying. Damn it! Jekka Group actually used such evil technology to transform humans and attack our troops. They must be severely punished. Our country has already fallen behind in the development of new biochemical troops. As the dominator of Blue Star, we must also have our own biochemical genetic troops. What are the requirements for this kind of genetic modification? Can I get one? I'm willing to pay a high price. Movies come to life, so genetic modification really does exist. Jekka Group is incredible. They are 20 years ahead of the world in biochemical modification technology. Flesh is weak. Machines ascend? Perhaps we've taken the wrong path in evolution. An entire army of 150,000 was devoured. TSK. That's like 150,000 pigs. Even if Jekka Group snatched for a whole day, they couldn't catch them all. Japan previously vowed to destroy Jekka Group's military force, and now their own invading army has been completely wiped out. I wonder how their faces feel. Evil Jekka Group, evil gene technology, such a company. I support the 8-Nation Group in eradicating them completely. Talk about eradicating them. Now they are the ones getting hit and running away. Netizens debated fiercely, expressing astonishment at Jekka Group's genetic warriors, saying, "My friends and I are all shocked." Just from the battlefield videos automatically recorded by the head-mounted sports cameras of the affected Japanese soldiers and Chan country soldiers, those genetic warriors were just too OP, overpowered. Equipped with powerful biological armor, wearing bulletproof vests that could defend against ordinary rifle bullets, and possessing such perverted combat abilities, their abilities were rich and varied. They had insect exoskeletons that heavy machine guns couldn't penetrate, biological cloaking technology that was difficult to detect with the naked eye, compound eyes like insects, allowing them to easily snipe any enemy within range. It can be said that the appearance of genetic warriors, like the mutants with superpowers in the movies, has given the world an unimaginable shock. For outsiders, it's mostly just onlookers in awe, but for the Japanese government and the Chan country government, the battle at Ruakai Mountains has put them in a situation facing collapse. Several Japanese military units, apart from those killed, had 10,000 taken prisoner, becoming captives of the Jekka Group. Since World War II, Japan had never experienced such devastating military losses. Not to mention anything else, just the anti-war protests within the country were enough to give the authorities a headache. They thought they had a guaranteed victory, but never imagined they would be in this situation, with their deployed troops not only failing to penetrate East Chin State and G State, but being completely annihilated themselves. The Japanese troops in Chan country now numbered only a few thousand, no longer capable of mounting any effective resistance against Jekka Group. As for the Chan country government, their situation was even more miserable. The Chan country government's army of more than 300,000, excluding the Air Force and Navy, only amounted to over 200,000 troops. But now, after the war in G-State, they had already lost 60,000 to 70,000 to death, injury, and capture, and the battle at Ruakai Mountains cost them another more than 100,000. The current strength of the Chan Country Government Army was less than 100,000, with several tens of thousands surrounding Twin Peaks. With the remaining soldiers tasked with defending the vast southern heartland of Chan Country, one could say that Chan Country Government Army had been stripped of its assets by Jekka Group. In such circumstances, the Chan Country Government, acting crazed, began a large-scale conscription nationwide, forcibly drafting many young people of appropriate age. At the same time, the Chan Country Government began frantically seeking allies among other warlords within the country, and on the other hand, started to lodge complaints with the United Nations Security Council against Jekka Group, requesting international support. February 25th. Manhattan's East Side, New York City, beautiful country. The United Nations Security Council's headquarters building complex, including the Secretariat, Conference, Assembly Halls, and the Hammarskjöld Library, are located here. Today, the United Nations Security Council was particularly lively, with a special meeting being held, attended by all 193 member states of the Resolution Conference. This special conference is convened regarding the civil war in Chan Country. We need to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions. After the chairperson announced the agenda for the assembly, the representative from the Chan Country government immediately raised his hand and stood up. Holding a document and several photos, he spoke tearfully. Representatives from all countries, the war caused by the invasion of the Jekka Group has brought terrible humanitarian disasters to the territory of Chan Country, destruction and collective trauma, and it also poses a threat to international peace and security and seriously affects public order. I hope the United Nations Security Council takes action to resolve the war in Chan Country, employing international armed forces to achieve lasting peace. Upon hearing this, the representatives from various countries began whispering to each other. For many countries, Chan Country was just a small country, which had always been inconspicuous on the international stage. If it weren't for this civil war drawing attention and the acts of the Jekka Group in opposing the Eight-Nation Group, along with the various high-tech innovations that made the headlines, many people from other countries wouldn't even know that such a country existed. Therefore, faced with the proposal from Chan Country, most countries didn't take it seriously. Many people were clear that in this war the Chan Country government was just a bit player. It was beautiful country, the Blue Star Dominator, that had initiated this war. Thus, everyone covertly turned their gaze towards the representative from beautiful country, and he didn't disappoint them, leaning forward and offering support. I agree with the proposal of the Chan Country government. The Jekka Group has committed all sorts of evil acts, plunging Chan Country into war. We must immediately punish them. I disagree. Brother Mao Xiong immediately stood up, saying coldly, "The civil war in Chan Country is their own affair. We should respect the wishes of the local people. If the Chan Country government cannot lead a population of 50 million, then perhaps it's time for a better leadership team." The United Nations Security Council has no reason to interfere in the internal affairs of other countries. The Jekka Group was a major arms purchaser from Maubert country, buying more military hardware from Maubert annually than any other country, firmly at the top of the list. Moreover, the military hardware purchased by the Jekka Group was used to deal with the Eight-Nation Group led by Beautiful Country, which was something Maubert country was only too happy to see. As long as it was against Beautiful Country, Maubert country would certainly support the opposition. Not interfering in the internal affairs of other countries is one of the founding principles of the United Nations. Let Chan Country resolve their own internal issues. The representative from Hua Country also spoke out. Ridiculous. The Jekka Group openly wages war, causing large numbers of civilians to be displaced, suffering untold misery. As members of the international community, how can we stand by and do nothing? The representative from France raised their flag in support of Beautiful Country. The actions of the Jekka Group seriously violate the basic norms of the international community. What if, in the future, domestic rebels in our countries take this as an example? What then? The representative from the British Empire also followed suit, siding with Beautiful Country. The consecutive statements from the 5 permanent countries led to a standoff at the scene. The remaining country representatives looked at each other, with Western-aligned nations naturally taking the side of beautiful country, and the others displaying a largely indifferent attitude. Only the representative from Japan stood up, his voice full of tears, saying, "Japanese soldiers kindly maintained political stability in Chan country, but the JECA group ignored our goodwill and ruthlessly killed our soldiers, imprisoning a large number of our innocent military personnel. I hereby appeal for unity. We can no longer tolerate the JECA group continuing to grow stronger, as it will lead to the world falling into chaos and darkness. Japan supports the dispatch of peacekeeping forces." Hearing this, many people in the room rolled their eyes. You, Japan, have the audacity to say this, sending troops into Chan country and acting as beautiful country's pawn. After failing to flatter them, you even had a few teeth knocked out by the JECA group, and now you have the gall to ask everyone to take your side. How utopian. Heh! If you want to deploy international armed forces, my Mao Bear country will not participate, the representative from Mao Bear country said, rejecting the idea outright without a second thought. Dispatching peacekeeping troops was contingent upon one necessary condition: the unanimous agreement of the 5 permanent countries. If even one of the 5 permanent countries disagrees, it simply can't be done. Mao Bear country, do you no longer bear the responsibility of a major international power? Peacekeeping is everyone's business. If you're going to talk like that, you might as well give up your seat as a permanent member. The representative from the British Empire slammed the table, his face full of indignation. Because the beautiful country had promised many benefits, the British Empire would naturally stand with the beautiful country. The peacekeeping forces are the international armed forces of the United Nations Security Council, and their mission is to supervise ceasefires, truces, and withdrawals, observe and report on the situations in conflict zones, separate the conflicting parties, assist in restoring or maintaining order in conflict zones, transport and protect humanitarian aid, and oversee elections or referendums. If peacekeeping forces could be sent to Chan country, it would provide a legitimate and legal way for the 8-nation group to force the Chan country government and the JECA group to sign a ceasefire agreement. Of course, whether others recognize this is another matter, but it certainly allows one to take the moral high ground. You have responsibility. You could send your domestic lobster soldiers over. Just don't end up with dead shrimps when the time comes. What's more, sending peacekeeping forces neither sooner nor later, just at this time, do you think everyone doesn't understand it's for what reason? If you want to clean up the mess for the 8-nation group, do it yourself. The Russian representative's eyes were filled with mockery and ridicule. It was clear to any discerning person that, with the end of the battle in the Ruakai Mountains, the JECA group had absolutely taken the upper hand in the Chan country civil war and might soon completely swallow up Chan country's territory. Deploying peacekeeping troops at this time for a ceasefire, and such obvious partiality, it's just too blatant. You don't send peacekeeping forces when bombing territories under the control of the JECA group, but now that the Chan country government is at a disadvantage, you eagerly come to the United Nations Security Council to call for a meeting, attempting to take sides and make the JECA group back off. Such acts of brown-nosing the beautiful country, Russia wouldn't stoop to doing. You group of Slavic brutes, if our domestic soldiers were to attack a local warlord, we could easily wipe them out. But this is contrary to the international society's principle of peace. This does not mean we are afraid of the JECA group. The British Empire's representative yelled fiercely, sounding somewhat defensive. The British Empire today is no longer the world's supreme overlord of the last century, colonizing the globe with fleets sailing without fear. The military strength of today's British Empire has declined greatly, with only 110,000 in the army, 50,000 in the navy, 40,000 in the air force, plus overseas forces and reservists, all in all around 400,000 to 500,000 troops. With such a small military force, planning a distant expedition to Chan country to fight the JECA group would be insane unless they wanted to get beaten to a pulp by super soldiers and genetic warriors. The British Empire wasn't stupid. There was no need to take bullets for the beautiful country. The representative from the beautiful country's face darkened. Knowing that with Russia, the archenemy, it was difficult to achieve anything, and said with a cold snort, "Let's move on to the next topic." To maintain its reign of terror in Chan country, the JECA group has illegally carried out human genetic modification experiments, which pose a high risk of contaminating the human gene pool. I call for sanctions against the JECA Group, prohibiting them from carrying out related illegal biogenetic experiments. The JECA Group must immediately stop such modifications and hand over all related data for review and archiving by the United Nations Security Council. Please raise your hands now for a vote. Those in favor, raise your hands. Majority rules. One after another, arms were raised. On the topic of genetic modification, everyone unmistakably aligned with the beautiful country. Because the JECA Group was too advanced in the biogenetic field, everyone coveted their technology and also feared them continuing their research, developing even more terrifying soldiers. After all, the JECA Group's mud truck trade war was infamous among those present. With genetic warriors so formidable, the thought of further advancements frightened everyone. Although many countries, including Russia and Hua country, expressed opposition, what the beautiful country needed was only a pretext for public opinion. They didn't care about the rest, because they themselves knew that even if the resolution passed, it would be useless against the JECA Group. Looking at Lin Li's raised arm, the representative from the beautiful country showed satisfaction, saying, "Good. It seems that most people agree with me. We need to join forces to stop the JECA Group from further developing biogenetic technology and hand over the related technology for archiving to the United Nations Security Council within 3 days." This guy, playing the same old unilateral declaration game again. The Russian representative curled his lip, aware that the beautiful country was just seeking a reason. The changing situation in Chan country made the beautiful country uneasy, looking for excuses to get involved in the civil war in Chan country. East Chin State. Su Jie rode in a black sedan, heading towards the JECA Group headquarters building, where a press conference was being held. The Northern Territory has been essentially swept clean. Many warlord soldiers have surrendered, and local civilians have joined the insect farming industry, breaking the economic bonds of those warlords. However, the core leaders of the warlords had fled in advance. According to intelligence, they have run off to Yang City, the capital of Chan country, and are under CIA protection. Lu Yingying, holding documents, was reporting the latest situation of the JECA Group to Su Jie. "No matter, we will settle the accounts with them soon." Su Jie knew where those people were, and it didn't matter if they were in Chan country or had fled to a Western country. Su Jie would send genetic warriors to eliminate them. From the moment they picked a fight with the JECA Group, their fate was actually sealed. How are the preparations in the Ruakai Mountains coming along? The military is already deployed, ready to move south and liberate the local civilians at any time. Lu Yingying, having been with Su Jie for a long time, now also used the word liberate in her speech, which sounded very upright, though Su Jie was a demon cultivator. Su Jie pinched Lu Yingying's cheek and smiled. "You've been working hard these days. Once this war is over, I'll take some time to be with you." "I don't mind. Career comes first." Lu Yingying shook her head and leaned on Su Jie's shoulder, saying, "I'm very satisfied with my life now. In the past, I wouldn't have dared to dream of having such incredible experiences. From a small-time real estate salesperson to becoming the number 2 in a regional warlord's command, she had never dared to dream of this before. This is nothing. You will experience much more in the future." Su Jie stroked Lu Yingying's smooth hair as they chatted casually, arriving at the JECA Group's headquarters building. The place was already under strict security to prevent missile attacks from the 8-nation group, so the press conference was not held above ground but deep underground in a bunker-level conference room. Many journalists attending the press conference complained privately, but some also admired JECA Group's foresight, because the beautiful country really could do such a thing. "Mr. Su, regarding the United Nations' latest resolution forbidding the JECA Group from researching and developing biochemical genetics technology, and requiring the handover of related technologies for a lockdown, will you comply with the United Nations resolution?" At the press conference, the first journalist who stood up to ask a question brought up the recently concluded United Nations Security Council resolution. Su Jie smiled slightly and said, "The United Nations Security Council resolution? We are not a member state of the United Nations Security Council. Agreements signed by others have nothing to do with us. The beautiful country likes to do this kind of thing. Why don't they first publicize their own domestic technologies like jet fighter engines, nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, and chip technologies? These technologies are equally dangerous. Shouldn't we prohibit the beautiful country from developing them? Su Jie made his point very clear, suggesting that anyone wanting to freeload his technology should just go to bed early. Unrelenting, the journalist continued, Mr. Su, with your large-scale production of human biochemical genetic experiments, what if there is an accidental incident? Many experts say that genetic modification can affect the natural lifespan of humans. It can also lead to aggressiveness and irritability among the reformers, and it's impossible to know when they will lose control and kill indiscriminately. Our JECA Group's biotech is safe enough. As for the experts you speak of, if they understand so much, let them produce a similar genetic warrior for me to see. Otherwise, I can only assume they are talking nonsense. Su Jie waved his hand, signaling the next journalist to ask a question and deliberately picking a reporter from Asahi News of Japan. The Prime Minister of Japan, Tsuneshima Shuchi, has issued an order demanding that JECA Group immediately release our soldiers. Otherwise, Japan will send more troops to destroy JECA Group's rule. Asahi News reporter's words were filled with indignation. Japan had not only been defeated but also had thousands of soldiers taken prisoner by JECA Group. This incident had caused an uproar back in Japan, with people now protesting in the streets. Release? Although we don't have potatoes to dig in Siberia like Chan country does, those mines also need a lot of labor. Those prisoners from Japan must atone for their own actions of invading Chan country. Or perhaps your 8-nation group would be willing to pay $10 million per person. Then I might consider negotiating their release. Of course, I would love for you to continue sending troops, because our mines are seriously lacking in labor, and we are worried about not having enough prisoners.
repeatedly.
In his rule, there were some rare mines located in high mountains and dense forests, which were extremely dangerous. Because machinery had difficulty accessing these areas, manpower was needed for mining, making these Japanese prisoners a perfect fit. Many people, given the high-intensity labor and the constant risk of collapse, found it hard to survive more than 3 to 5 years. If they were lucky enough to survive, they could be used for experiments. Like the transformation into genetic warriors, after all, some test subjects are needed to try drugs and ensure safety. The souls of the deceased prisoners could be extracted to cultivate the Een soul, strengthening his 10,000 soul banner. For Su Jie, who came from a lineage of demon cultivators, having mercy on his enemies was absolutely impossible. And Su Jie's response left the Asahi News journalist trembling all over. This was simply outrageous and displayed complete disregard for Japan, daring to openly say he would force the prisoners to labor in the mines. What's this about $10 million per person? The price alone makes it clear they have no intention of releasing anyone. How is the JECA Group's behavior any different from that of kidnappers who extort for ransom? The difference lies in the fact that we are the victors. Why should we spare those who have invaded us? The JECA Group has always believed in an eye for an eye, blood for blood. Su Jie looked at the reporter from Asahi News, his voice laced with murderous intent, causing their face to pale. Su Jie didn't bother with another response. Glancing at the reporters present, he fixed his gaze on a journalist from the official media of the Chan country government. You're from the official media of Chan country? Do you have any questions? Su Jie asked directly, wanting to hear what they would say. The United Nations Security Council has already expressed its stance, seeking to mediate a ceasefire between the JECA Group and Chan country government. At the same time, the Chan country government has also made promises, willing to hand over Magway State, which borders G State, to JECA Group's management, along with $2 billion to aid in the reconstruction of East Chin State, as long as the JECA Group agrees to a ceasefire. With these words, the reporter conveyed the Chan country government's desire for a ceasefire, even willing to cede territory and make reparations to the JECA Group. After the battle in the Ruakai Mountains, the JECA Group secured absolute superiority, while the Chan country government is now at an absolute disadvantage. The disparity in combat power between both sides has left the Chan country government wanting to beg for mercy. A ceasefire? A smile curled at the corner of Su Jie's mouth, his eyes cold and indifferent, sneering at the Chan country government's wishful thinking. Do you wait for the car to hit the tree before you turn? Or for the snot to reach your mouth before you wipe it away? Seeing that Su Jie hadn't immediately refused, the official media reporter from Chan country thought there was hope, his eyes lighting up. But the next moment, Su Jie's words sent chills down his spine. There's a saying in the East, it's better to pursue and crush a retreating foe than to rest on your laurels and emulate the overconfident kings of old. Let me tell the Chan country government right now, this battle won't end until one side falls. Su Jie was not one to show the mercy of a woman. He wouldn't allow the tiger to return to the mountain, giving the Chan country government a chance to struggle. He wouldn't hesitate to end the battle early, taking advantage of the Jekka group's current dominance and the Chan country government's shortage of troops and officers, to annihilate the Chan country government in one fell swoop. Should he wait for the enemy to recuperate, retrain their army, and then, in cooperation with the Eight-Nation group, make a comeback to attack him again? Su Jie would not be so foolish. He would decisively seize the victory and eliminate the foothold the Eight-Nation group has in interfering with his affairs, and replace the Chan country government, officially taking over all the powers of Chan country. Hearing Su Jie's adamant tone, the official media reporter from Chan country swayed, his lips quivering. You tyrant! Ending the war is the will of the entire Chan country and the prevailing view of the international community. This war has caused too many casualties. Ending the war one day earlier will allow Chan country citizens to return to peaceful lives sooner. Do you intend to disregard life and wreak havoc, causing people to lose their families and lives in the war, leaving wives separated from their children, before you would be willing to stop? What Chan country needs now is peace, and that is also the voice of many citizens. The reporters below nodded in agreement upon hearing these words. In the objective impression of the international community, forces that relish war tend to have a poor image, like the beautiful country. Su Jie slowly stood up, surveyed the audience, and said deliberately, Of course, I intend to continue the war. 240,000 soldiers of the Jekka group have given their blood and lives in succession. You've only seen the war itself. You see us, the Jekka group, unwilling to let go and cast me as a murderous tyrant, right? Incorrect. Our war has lasted only 1 year, while the civil war in Chan country has raged for a full 77 years. 77 years. Never a day's pause, from the founding of the nation, plagued by warlords, political chaos, opium flooding the streets, and rampant illegal and criminal activities. Go and ask any local person in Chan country if they like their country being this way. Can the Chan country government make things better in Chan country? Prevent deaths due to war? No. Can those warlords, with their opium cultivation, make the country stronger? No. Can those criminal forces, with their kidnappings, frauds, and extortions, provide a good life for the citizens? No. Only I, only the Jekka group, am the sole savior of Chan country. The Chan country government can't do it. Let me, Su Jie, do it. Warlords couldn't achieve it, so I, Su Jie, will do it. Only with true unification can there be true peace in the world, he said with calm determination, expressing his own thoughts. The journalists below listened to Su Jie's authoritative war declaration, and for a moment seemed to be intimidated into silence, the whole room falling quiet. They saw Su Jie as a man glowing with brilliance, towering immensely. Compared to those hypocritical politicians, such a declaration from Su Jie undoubtedly matched people's perception of him more closely. That is my answer. Are you satisfied? Su Jie looked at the official media journalist from Chan country, not about to stop because he feared the casualties war might cause. The pain caused by this war is only temporary. It's better to have short-term pain than long-term pain. To acquiesce to the Chan country government's request for a ceasefire would only lead to greater casualties in the future. The official media journalist from Chan country opened and closed his mouth a few times, no sound coming out, seemingly drained of spirit.
Su Jie.
Lu Yingying, sitting beside Su Jie, felt her heart pounding as she gazed at his profile, her eyes somewhat infatuated. The look of someone in love can't be hidden. The man she adored was indeed extraordinary. There were also JECA Group officials at the press conference, answering other questions about the event. They were all locals born and raised in Chan country and understood what Su Jie was talking about. Since the day of its founding, Chan country had always been mired in civil war, never seeing true peace, and was still in a state of warlord fragmentation. Unify the entire country, peace for all. Huh? Can I really live to see that day? An elderly official with white hair had tears streaming down his face, muttering to himself, overwhelmed with emotion. Only someone who truly loved their country could utter such words. Such a man, truly thrilling. A beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, an impressive figure of a female journalist from beautiful country blushed as she looked at Su Jie, her eyes sparkling. If Su Jie was willing, with just a beckon of his finger, it seemed the female journalist would willingly present herself washed and ready on his bed. Of course, her gaze was quickly noticed by Lu Yingying on the stage, who glared at her and cursed silently, "Bitch! A mighty man has descended from heaven. Chan country has produced a strong man. This could be a choice of history." A journalist from Russia commented feelingly that in times of national crisis, mighty men often appeared to lead their nations towards revival. Like Napoleon of France, Kemal, the founding father of the Osman Empire, and including the heroic figures from Hua country's modern history who strived for their nation. Such powerful men are capable of reversing the tides and saving the nation from dire straits. He reminds me of someone. Next to the journalist from Russia was a journalist from France. Who? The Russian journalist asked curiously. Little Mustache, also a foreigner, also skilled in oratory and swaying public opinion, also fond of solving problems through war. The Russian journalist paused, exchanging glances with the French journalist, both shuddering. Both countries deeply despised the demon lord of mayhem, who shook the world during World War II. The former had cast the laughable tale of an army of 3 million surrendering in 42 days, while the latter also faced the demon lord's armies in what became the most brutal and bloody war in the history of the European continent. Don't talk nonsense, you two. You've got me thinking that guy up there is about to start season 3, but that's impossible. To one side, a journalist from the British Empire shook his head, discarding the absurd idea from his mind. Considering the strength of the JECA Group, even if it possesses some biotech secrets, even if they took over the entire territory of Chan country, it's just a small country of a few 100,000 square kilometers. They can't stir up much trouble. Su Jie, paying no attention to the commotion in the press area, answered a few more questions before handing over the rest of the duties to Lu Yingying and the other officials, as he went to plan the forthcoming battle for unification. Ruakai Mountains, Twin Peaks. On March 1st, the third day of the United Nations Security Council meeting, the JECA Group's 6th Mountain Division, which had been trapped in Twin Peaks for many days, finally saw their own troops. Hundreds of Steel Camp genetic soldiers were emerging along the Ruakai Mountains. Above in the sky, fighter jets constantly accompanied them, providing air superiority protection. The pilots, super soldiers of the JECA Group, had taken strengthening pills which sharpened their senses, allowed for more flexible control of the fighter jets, and enabled them to handle greater G-forces during maneuvers. Thus, although the number of fighter jets bought by Russia was relatively inferior, they could compensate for some of the gap with the pilots' superior flying techniques. Of course, when compared with the Air Force power of the 8-nation group, they were still lacking by a lot and could only maintain air defense over certain areas. Division Commander Li Yuqi walked out of the cave. His body was dirty due to staying in the tunnels for a long time, his hair like a forked chicken's nest, but he was smiling very happily. As a Chan country native, he saw the hope of war victory. Much like General Su had stated in the military report, Chan country was on the verge of unification. Commander Li, it's an honor to meet you. We appreciate your long stand here. Miao Luan strode forward to Li Yuqi, and they saluted each other. Camp Commander Miao, I've long admired the reputation of your steel camp. Just looking at your physique says it all. Your steel camp is indeed the greatest contributor to our victory. Li Yuqi laughed heartily, feeling very pleased, and stepped forward to give Miao Luan a hearty hug. If it weren't for you, Commander Lee, leading the 6th Mountain Division to hold Twin Peaks and cut off the enemy's escape route through the Ruakai Mountains, we wouldn't have been able to corner them for annihilation. You are the primary contributor. All right, let's stop being modest with each other here. Camp Commander Miao, you must be here on orders from above. Yes, the 40,000 Chan Country soldiers previously besieging Chan Country are one of the few remaining military forces controlled by the Chan Country government, and we need to eliminate them. Miao Luan explained his purpose. Twin Peaks was being encircled, and it was this force of 40,000 soldiers who were part of the siege. They were also the Chan Country government's reserve army, but the situation in the Ruakai Mountains changed too quickly. Just after they managed to open the Scorpion Cloud Mountain Pass, they received the news that their own force of 150,000 troops had been completely wiped out. The painstakingly opened Scorpion Cloud Mountain, instead, fell into the hands of the Jekka Group, who seized it for troop transport. That unit you talked about had actually left the night before last and entered Changmin City, preparing to retreat and return to the rear. However, I sent out super soldiers to scout and tail them. It turns out they played a trick. They didn't really enter the Changmin City area but headed towards Haikong Port. I suspect they planned to board ships there and directly transfer to the Chan Country capital, Yang City, to defend their capital. Li Yuqi shared his analysis. The Chan Country government surely knew that 40,000 troops couldn't stop the Jekka Group, so they went to great lengths to save this last force. I understand. Leave it to us. After listening to Li Yuqi's analysis, Miao Luan expressed his agreement. After ending the conversation with Li Yuqi, Miao Luan left some people behind and led the rest of the Steel Camp soldiers ahead. All the Steel Camp soldiers, clad in biological armor, rushed day and night, taking advantage of their great strength and speed to pursue their quarry. However, along the way, Miao Luan found that they sporadically came upon soldiers wearing Chan Country government army uniforms. You would think they were fleeing troops, but they hadn't experienced combat. But if you said they weren't, they also lacked any semblance of organization and discipline. Miao Luan captured several of them for questioning and finally understood the situation. It turned out that the 40,000-strong Chan Country force, upon hearing about the battles in the Ruakai Mountains, out of fear of the Jekka Group and distrust in the uncertain fate of the Chan Country government, many officers from this force fled ahead by helicopter, with the majority choosing to abandon their troops outright. Once the officers fled, the rest of the troops naturally fell into disarray. Regardless of the direction of senior command, retreating units kept losing soldiers who didn't want to share the Chan Country government's sinking fate. In the Chan Country government army, the concept of breakout and retreat didn't exist. Usually, an order to retreat meant the superiors fled first, abandoning command, leaving the survival of the soldiers to their own fortunes. Therefore, once a breakout and retreat occurred in the Chan Country army, it generally resulted in disintegration. With the structure disrupted, no one could control the troops or command effectively. One could say that the Chan Country government finally reaped the bitter fruits of its own negligence in allowing the military's corruption and lack of training. Such military quality. Miao Luan shook his head speechlessly. Indeed, a force that can only fight head-on isn't considered elite. True mettle is found in those who can hold steadfast during retreat, maintaining morale and the will to fight. Miao Luan continued to rush on, pursuing the retreating Chan Country army. With Chan Country's poor infrastructure and the mountainous environment, although the government troops had retreated in advance, within a day, before they could reach the coastal port, they were already overtaken by the Steel Camp. But when Miao Luan spotted them, their numbers had dwindled to just over 20,000, and many soldiers had even lost their weapons in the escape. Attack! Without any hesitation or fear, the Steel Camp genetic soldiers charged directly at the enemy in the forests. This group of over 20,000 troops scattered in disarray. Upon confirming during combat that they were facing the Jekka Group's elite Steel Camp, they instantly collapsed. The troops, already devoid of morale, decisively and swiftly chose to raise their hands and surrender. Spare us, brothers of Steel Camp. I want to join and support the Jekka Group. You don't know, Mr. Su is my idol. I've wanted to be with him for a long time. Big brother, don't kill me. I surrender, I really do. Stop killing, we all surrender, we won't run. The Chan Country Army surrendered like the wind, and their decisive speed left the Steel Camp genetic soldiers momentarily stunned. They had only killed a few dozen people, and the battle was over just like that. Miao Luan's lips twitched slightly as he had originally thought that attacking 40,000 would be a fierce fight. But when they actually fought, he realized it was nothing like that at all. Such a battle was even easier than a picnic for Steel Camp. Watching the Chan Country soldiers sit obediently on the ground, looking completely at peace awaiting captivity, and even excitedly discussing the attire of the genetic soldiers, chatting about how much they would earn under the rule of the Jekka group, whether they could also get a single soldier mecha, and whether the food for captives of the Jekka group was good or not, among other various topics. Seeing this scene, Miao Luan really had no place to comment. This might have been the easiest battle he had ever faced since joining the army. He didn't even break a sweat, and the fight was already declared over. Each genetic soldier was guarding a string of captives, averaging one soldier looking after more than 300 prisoners, a rare sight in modern military warfare. After handing these prisoners over to the regular soldiers of the Jekka group, Miao Luan continued on his mission. He was to lead his troops to attack cities governed by the Chan Country government. Kungsi City. This was the capital city of Magway State, bordering G State, and had a population of over 1 million. That day, a force of outsiders broke the tranquility of the city. With billowing dust, an armored unit arrived. Doors at the rear of each infantry fighting vehicle opened, and squads of soldiers, one after another, poured out, weapons ready, preparing for a brutal urban defense battle. Commanding this operation was Li Yuqi. Although the Jekka group had advised him to rest, Li Yuqi insisted on leading the troops himself. He led a mechanized infantry battalion and a portion of the Steel Camp genetic soldiers to depart at night. Even though the forest environment caused many armored vehicles to stall, with the genetic soldiers around, these physically impressive warriors were able to easily get the stalled trucks and armored vehicles moving, allowing the unit to launch a surprise attack on Kungsi City by morning. That morning, vendors in Kungsi City hawking their wares on the streets, office workers, and students going to school were dumbstruck as they saw a light armored unit speedily enter the city. Lots of fully armed elite soldiers with tactical helmets and bulletproof vests dismounted, swiftly seizing key points and high ground in the city, using debris to construct barricades and establish positions for heavy firepower. What are they doing? Is this some kind of performance? Are you stupid? Don't you recognize the Jekka group's military uniform? The Jekka group has come to attack. Really? I heard life is super good in territories of the Jekka group. Now I can work for them too. Jekka soldiers, over here, follow me. I know where the police station is. I'll take you to hit them. I know too. I know where the power plant and the TV station are, and where the officials live. After a brief moment of daze, the citizens of Kungsi City quickly reacted and began warmly welcoming the troops of the Jekka group. They not only acted as guides for the Jekka group, helped carry weapons and ammunition, but also brought hot food and drinking water for the Jekka soldiers. Their attitude was not at all like they were facing invaders. Rather, it was as if they were offering food and drink to welcome a conquering army. Even though Chan Country's government liked to demonize the Jekka group, information nowadays was way too advanced. Furthermore, who didn't have a few relatives or friends living under East Chin State and G State governance? A simple phone call was enough to understand the situation. Having suffered under the Chan Country government's rule, they were filled with gratitude and respect for the Jekka group's arrival. Desiring to live like the people in East Chin State and G State, they naturally supported and participated enthusiastically in the just cause of the Jekka group. In a police station in Kungsi City, the chief heard the noise outside and couldn't help but curse under his breath, shouting, "What's all the noise outside? Someone go check." About a dozen policemen pulled out their batons, ready to go out and teach those noisy civilians a lesson. But just then, an armored vehicle floored the gas pedal and crashed right through the police station's iron gate, bursting in. Following the armored vehicle were several trucks, and a large group of soldiers in uniform jumped down, aiming their rifles, machine guns, and submachine guns at them. The policemen on the scene had stiff expressions and ice-cold hands and feet, feeling tingles in their scalps as if seeing their grandmas waving at them. Jekka soldiers. It's these police officers. Open fire. At the back, many enthusiastic citizens were now eagerly giving their advice. No, no, no. It's all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Officers, we are all on the same side. I'll join your Jekka group right away. We made some small mistakes, but they are not deserving of death. The policemen, with guns pointed at them, were sweating profusely and almost had a heart attack. They had never seen such a scene before, and although they could act tough in front of the citizens of Kunxi City, they couldn't possibly bluff the soldiers of the Jekka group. What's all this chaos? Why is it getting louder and louder? The police chief came down from upstairs, but as soon as he stepped out the door, he found himself targeted by a 25mm cannon of an infantry fighting vehicle. His angry expression instantly disappearing, his eyes widened in disbelief. At this moment, Rong Kenbing, like the other policemen, could only honestly crouch down with his hands over his head. The very thing they used to do to prisoners now happening to himself. But there was nothing he could do. Who could challenge the Jekka group when they were armed to the teeth, and not many had the spirit to rather die than submit? Are you the chief here? I'm asking you, where has the 85th Battalion of the Chan Country Army stationed here gone? Li Yuqi stepped down from the combat command vehicle, looking at the Rong Kenbing brought over by the soldiers. His troops had searched all over Kunxi City and the vicinity but had not found the Chan Country Government Army deployed here to defend Kunxi City. It's a misunderstanding. Don't kill me. I confess everything. I kept a mistress. I took money from a jewelry store owner, helped my nephew. Rong Kenbing, panicked, began to babble nonsensically, even spilling secrets like the time he peeped at a widow bathing when he was a child. Smack! A Jekka group soldier struck him with a rifle but, instantly snapping Rong Kenbing back to reality. Our commander is asking you, and you're rambling nonsense. Seeing the dangerous looks from the surrounding soldiers, Rong Kenbing didn't even dare to breathe heavily and hurriedly began to speak. The 85th Battalion you mentioned, they left last night, said it was a normal repositioning. I even led the team to maintain traffic order. Rong Kenbing realized the intentions of these fierce Jekka group soldiers and finally felt a sigh of relief. He thought to himself, taking a little bribe wasn't worth deploying so many soldiers or sending an infantry fighting vehicle equipped with a 25mm cannon after him. They all ran away? These Chan Country soldiers aren't good at fighting but are experts at running away. Li Yuqi was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help shaking his head and chuckling. He had attacked swiftly enough, reaching Kunxi City overnight. But the Chan Country soldiers had fled even faster, an ability you had to admire in the Chan Country Government Army. This speed of relocation was something even mechanized troops couldn't match. Li Yuqi waved his hand broadly and ordered, "The 2nd Battalion soldiers will stay and occupy Kunxi City. The rest of the troops will follow me to the next city." Looking at the trembling policemen and the enthusiastic nearby citizens, Li Yuqi knew that the Chan Country Government Army could no longer resist the advance of the Jekka group. The Jekka group launched a lightning strike from the Ruakai Mountains, and within just 3 days, they had completely occupied the entirety of Magway State. In this process, almost all cities fell to the Jekka group's troops without a fight. The cities were essentially left with only some police and militia, who, unless they wanted to pit their rudimentary weapons against the Jekka group's machine guns, heavy artillery, and genetic warriors, had no choice but to surrender. These militia and police officers certainly had no intention of sacrificing their lives for the Chan Country government. For every city they conquered, the Jekka group didn't need to divert much manpower to maintain control since the local population was more than willing to be governed by them. In fact, many citizens of these cities couldn't wait and, before the Jekka group even arrived, they stormed the local government institutions and police stations, raised the flag of the Jekka group, and declared their allegiance to their rule. This trend of surrendering without a fight continued to spread rapidly after the capture of Magway State. Adjacent states such as Shiji State, Illawa, Meng State, and Neil State one after another saw their flag on the city walls change to that of the Jekka group as their troops advanced. The Chan Country government certainly wanted to defend, but their soldiers were depleted, with only about 20 to 30,000 veteran soldiers left, and the rest were freshly conscripted. Moreover, the army was demoralized and their will disintegrated, hardly sufficient to defend the capital, Yang City, let alone to be deployed to other states to confront the Jekka group. The Jekka group, with an insatiable appetite, incessantly gnawed away at the Chan country government's vital territories, and now controlled more than half of the entire Chan country, encompassing a population of over 30 million. If it weren't for the need to be wary of airstrikes, the Jekka group would choose to march through fields at night, enabling them to capture even more territory at a faster rate. However, the superiority of the Chan country government in terms of air dominance was also being eroded by the Jekka group, as the Chan country government army and Japanese soldiers found their military airfields dwindling as more territory fell to the Jekka group. They wanted to use the airfields in Siam as a base, but the Siam government, fearing reprisals from the Jekka group, rejected this proposal. In the Jekka group's voracious expansion, many territories weren't under the control of the Chan country government but belonged to various warlords. But for the Jekka group, whether facing the Chan country government army or warlord soldiers, those who did not surrender were equally targeted for destruction. Faced with the formidable advance of the Jekka group, how could these warlords withstand the wolf-like ferocity of the Jekka group's large conventional forces, the assortment of armored vehicles and aircraft, all far superior to the light infantry of the warlords? Furthermore, with the presence of super soldiers and genetic warriors, any notion of guerrilla warfare in the forests was simply wishful thinking. Many warlord soldiers fled in panic, surrendering in droves. It could be said that at this time, the Jekka group, with its unstoppable momentum, was set to become the new ruler of Chan country. By then, anyone with clear eyesight could see that the Chan country government was on the brink of collapse. At this point, some became anxious, with the beautiful country leading the eight-nation group. As the Jekka group approached the Chan country capital, they publicly issued a statement. The Jekka group disregards United Nations Security Council resolutions, is unwilling to sequester gene technology and turn it over, and recklessly expands the scale of the war, causing desolation within Chan country. If the Jekka group does not cease its actions, as a member of the eight-nation group, we will not hesitate to intervene militarily. This message didn't stir any reaction in the world, as it wasn't the first time the beautiful country had threatened the Jekka group. However, for the Chan country government, this statement from the beautiful country was like grasping at a lifeline. They began to relocate all available forces to the Chan country capital, Yang City, preparing to hold out there, waiting for military assistance from the beautiful country. But even for the beautiful country, transporting their forces would take time. Yang City, this capital of Chan country, with a population of over 7 million, was recently experiencing unrest and agitation. The relentless advance of the Jekka group was like a landslide and tsunami, moving ever closer, and even the most economically prosperous city in the country felt the looming threat of war. Up to 200,000 troops had assembled there, building barricades and trenches in the streets, transforming many buildings into fortifications for war. The Chan country government planned to make a final stand here, waiting for the rescue from the beautiful country. In addition to the Chan country government army, the last 3,000 Japanese soldiers were also stationed here, who, although wanting to return home, were not permitted by their own country. After all, their masters were about to enter the fray, so retreating now made no sense. In the underground ring road within Yang City, Miao Luin, wearing biological armor, turned to look at the rear, where genetic warriors and super soldiers lined up in preparation. According to the previously designated targets, secure the broadcast and television building, police stations, telecommunications bureau, headquarters, power plant. Miao Luin made the final reminder, and after checking through the eye worm that there were no enemies outside, he decisively pressed the detonator in his hand. Specially designed explosives for upward detonation blasted a huge passage to the surface, and Miao Luin, leading the charge, leapt up first. And upon hearing the explosion, the Chan country soldiers rushing over could just catch a glimpse of Miao Luin before they were met with his 14.5 mm caliber bullets tearing through their bodies. The bullets they fired were easily deflected by the biological armor, Behind Miao Luan, more and more genetic warriors and super soldiers leaped out and began to kill in all directions. Miao Luan personally led a group of men charging towards the location of the broadcasting and television building. Not far into their run, Miao Luan encountered a group of Chan country soldiers. But just as Miao Luan was about to open fire, the soldiers knelt down en masse. "It's the genetic warriors from Jekka Group. You've finally come to save us. Don't shoot. I was forced into the army by the Chan country government. I am innocent. We are willing to surrender to Jekka Group. Please don't kill us. I can show you the way. I know where the Japanese troops are." The Chan country soldiers were crying, their faces showing a look of seeing their savior. Miao Luan glanced at the group of Chan country soldiers and indeed saw no traces of military training. They were clearly civilians hastily conscripted by the desperate Chan country government, so he ignored them. The squad continued to push forward. Normally, like any city siege, it would be tremendously arduous and complex. The battle at Jiwei City was a bloody affair, turning rivers red. However, this time, as steel camp stormed in, there wasn't much resistance faced. Not to mention the newly conscripted soldiers, even when faced with 20 to 30,000 veteran soldiers of the Chan country government, the majority chose to surrender, and very few were willing to fight to the death. Soon, Miao Luan arrived at the broadcasting and television building and stormed in. President of Chan, Yan Ming, will never forgive Jekka Group, and will do everything possible in conjunction with the international community to eradicate the cancer that is Jekka Group. During this national crisis, I also ask all citizens to trust us. As the president, I will defend our country to the last, as it is my duty and responsibility. The 200,000-strong army in Yang City will also fight Jekka Group to the last soldier, and victory will surely belong to the Chan country government. In the studio, the female host was reading the script, completely unaware of Miao Luan and his soldiers entering. Her colleagues beside her were almost scared out of their wits. Click! Miao Luan stepped forward, grabbed the microphone, interrupting the host's speech, and gave her a cold look. "Is that what you think? What are you doing? Can't you see I'm recording?" The female host frowned, about to scold the person who interrupted her work. But upon seeing Miao Luan's figure, her face turned pale and she looked like she was about to cry. "No. It's not like that. The higher-ups told me to read this. I support Jekka Group." Miao Luan pushed her aside, and with the broadcasting and television building under control, Yang City was essentially secured for Jekka Group. A few minutes ago, in the Congress building in Yang City, the current president of Chan was surprisingly cheerful, shaking the hand of a Caucasian man vigorously. "Colonel Mike, you've finally arrived. Jekka Group has been too rampant. You must help us drive them back. I can agree to any conditions afterwards. Rest assured, what we have sent over now is just a regiment-level force. Soon, brigade and division-level forces will be deployed, and Jekka Group won't be able to act arrogantly for long." Mike spoke gravely. He was the colonel of the 3rd Parachute Regiment from Beautiful Country, tasked with supporting Chan country in this war, with more forces gathering from military bases around the world. "Colonel Mike, Jekka Group has already occupied Ranpan City, only 300 kilometers away from us." Yoshimura Yuichi chimed in from the side. He had suffered a significant defeat. The reason he still held his position was because no one was willing to take over his job, which was now a hot potato that everyone desperately avoided. 300 kilometers. Give us a few more days, and more than 10,000 soldiers will arrive here. Beautiful Country won't stand by and do nothing. Mike looked at the map, affirming that Beautiful Country would not abandon them. Beautiful Country possessed the strongest strategic transport capabilities in the world. Under such emergency circumstances, when quick sea transport wasn't an option, strategic aircraft could do the job. For instance, the C-17 Universal Dominator strategic transport aircraft could transport Mi main battle tanks and carry hundreds of infantry at once, with an operational radius of about 5,000 kilometers. The Beautiful Country owned hundreds of military transport planes, and they could also mobilize civilian aviation to help. Accomplishing this was not difficult for them. "Once the troops arrive, we will help you stabilize the front line, and then slowly whittle down the Jekka Group," Mike continued, explaining that the primary goal of the beautiful country sending troops this time was to help stabilize the front line for the Chan country government, ensuring that it was not eliminated, and to continue to exert sanctions and military pressure on Jekka Group through the Chan country government. With your promise, I feel much more at ease. So please, Colonel Mike, boom! While the few were discussing, a sudden, intense explosion erupted. Where did that explosion come from? Mike's heart skipped a beat, sensing a bad premonition. The president of Chan also picked up his phone and began inquiring about the situation. It's bad, Mr. President. The Jekka Group has attacked. A few minutes later, the conference room door was pushed open. The person entering was a general from Chan country, his forehead sweaty and his face visibly tense. What? How could it be so quick? Aren't their main forces still in Ranpan City? The president of Chan's face turned ghastly pale. Yoshimura Yuichi and Mike's expressions also grew solemn. It's the tunnels, they used them to enter the inner city. It's the genetic warriors. Damn it, are all of you imbeciles? Move the troops quickly and drive them out. We've already mobilized the troops, but there are too many genetic warriors and many super soldiers. The general faltered, aware of the current state of the Chan country army. Apart from a scarce few 20 to 30,000 old soldiers, all the rest were freshly conscripted troops only meant to fill ranks, not even fully equipped with rifles. How could they stand a chance against the ferocious genetic warriors? Click! Suddenly, the television set in the room changed its display, showing a live broadcast from the studio. Next to the stiff-faced female host, a man emerged from his biological armor, stepping up to the microphone. I am Miao Luan from the Jekka Group of Genetic Warriors. I now declare that Yang City is officially under the control of the Jekka Group. All Chan country soldiers should now lay down their arms and surrender. The Jekka Group will not pursue past offenses. If resistance continues, what awaits you is complete eradication. Please, citizens of Yang City, remain calm and stay indoors. Do not leave your homes. Wait for our further announcements. You will soon be ushered into a new life. The cold words, along with the towering 3-meter-tall biological armor standing nearby, strongly oppressed everyone who heard it. This news was not only broadcast on television, but also relayed through radio and loudspeakers on the streets of Yang City. The news station has been seized by the genetic warriors. It's over. Everything is over. The president of Chan looked completely despondent, knowing his troops' low morale, and now the enemy had taken over the news headquarters, using this method to announce it to the entire city. He fully understood that his troops wouldn't have much courage left to continue resisting. General Mike, I need to leave here. I can't fall into Jekka Group's hands. Quick! While the airport is still in our possession, let's escape. In the next moment, the president of Chan grabbed Mike's arm. His eyes filled with a desire to survive. Ordinary soldiers could surrender, but he, having coordinated with the 8-nation group to strike against Jekka Group, would certainly be brought out for retribution by the Jekka Group if caught. It's come too fast. Let's retreat. Mike sighed. He was not considering using his paratrooper regiment to confront Steel Camp, unless the government forces of Chan and Yang City could combine forces with them. But relying solely on the paratrooper regiment and Japan's 3,000 troops, they could never successfully stand against Steel Camp. We must flee. Yoshimura Yuichi was equally tense, as Jekka Group's treatment of the Japanese was extremely harsh. If he fell into the clutches of the Jekka Group, his fate was unimaginable. A group of them exited the Congress building and rushed to the airport under the escort of guards. Meanwhile, Yang City had entered a state of chaos due to the sudden advance of the Jekka Group. As the news broadcast spread, the entire Yang City and Chan country saw its government army easily shredded like tofu by the Jekka Group, completely collapsing with a large number of soldiers obediently laying down their weapons and surrendering to the Jekka Group. However, Yang City was too large, with a population of over 7 million. Controlling it was extremely difficult with just super soldiers and genetic warriors, so they could only temporarily incorporate those recently surrendered Chan country government army soldiers to maintain order. During this period when the Jekka Group was too preoccupied to pay attention elsewhere, large crowds began to block the entrance to Yang City Airport. In Yang City, the capital of Chan Country, besides ordinary citizens, there were many privileged classes and wealthy officials and businessmen living there. In Chan Country, a country with a chaotic political situation, those who had risen to power usually had original sin on their hands, mostly engaging in various illegal and criminal activities, or they were family members of warlords and children of criminals. Additionally, there were numerous individuals who had previously served the Eight-Nation Group, acting as high-level informants, guides, translators, and collectors of information about the Jekka Group. When they received the news that the Jekka Group's genetic warriors had invaded Yang City, they all feared being dragged out by the Jekka Group for execution and ran to Yang City Airport hoping to escape. Apart from this group naturally fearful of the Jekka Group, there were those who identified with the values of the beautiful country and wanted to board a plane from the beautiful country to that land of freedom. With the massive crowd trying to escape, Yang City Airport was packed to the brim. Previously, they had not left, believing that the Chan Country government might still manage to hold on until troops from the beautiful country could come to their support and continue to confront the Jekka Group. If they ran first, there would be no place for them in Chan Country upon their return. Thinking it wasn't the final moment yet, they planned to wait and see. But the sudden attack by the genetic warriors caught them completely off guard. Now that they were just beginning to pack their belongings to flee, it was already too late. By the time they arrived, Yang City Airport had already been put under martial law by the beautiful country. The paratrooper regiments that had just arrived had just finished storing military supplies and equipment when they received a message from their regiment commander. They hadn't even had a chance to rest before they had to hurriedly board the planes to return. "Let us in, hurry. Open the gate. Please. I worked for your Eight-Nation Group before. Don't leave me behind. I love the sweet air of freedom in the beautiful country. Take me with you. I'll do anything. I am the head of the Chan Country Transportation Department. I have investments and funds worth millions of US dollars in your beautiful country. You must take me with you. I am Wu Angli. I had my troops fight a desperate battle with the Jekka Group. Now you can't abandon me. My family and I are all here. You CIA promised you would get us out." The crowd, numbering in the tens of thousands, was jammed at the airport entrance, their faces frantic as they pushed and shoved each other like zombies. Back off, you can't come in." The soldiers from the beautiful country did not indulge them, directly striking with the butts of their rifles, shooting rubber bullets continuously at the people clinging to the fence gate in front, throwing tear gas, and using water cannons to disperse the crowd gathered there. Wu Angli, with his wife and children, around a dozen people, this big warlord of the Northern Territory, was hit in the head with a rifle, but until it was bleeding and his teeth were broken, his face bruised. How dare you treat me like this? I have shed blood for the beautiful country. I have done great deeds for the CIA. I want to see your CIA High Commissioner Lloyd. I want to see your highest commander here." Wu Angli looked maniacally at the beautiful country soldiers setting up roadblocks, thinking back to the times when he, as a great warlord of the Northern Territory, had been so gloriously limitless. When influenced by the CIA to start a war with the Jekka Group, he had gambled all his troops and territory, losing everything. But the promise from the CIA to take him and his family out of Chan Country and ensure a life of riches and honors in the latter half of his life was nowhere to be seen. "What CIA Lloyd? We don't recognize that. Whoever promised you, find them." The beautiful country soldier kicked him to the ground with a spit landing on him. It wasn't just Wu Angli. The 6 warlords of the Northern Territory had all been abandoned by the CIA. Having no remaining value to be used, they weren't worth taking back. The crowd was too packed. Many people trying to escape simply formed human chains to climb up the airport fence. "Fire! Drive them away!" The beautiful country officer on scene shouted. Bullets were fired. This time they were not mere rubber bullets, but real bullets capable of killing. Blood spattered here and there. The crowd in front was mowed down. Death finally caused the crowd to be overtaken by fear, screaming as they backed away, causing a large-scale stampede accident. Many who fell were trampled on by boots in a succession, and when the crowd dispersed, only a mess of bloodied bodies remained. Through such bloody violence, the beautiful country maintained order at Yang City Airport. In the midst of the chaos at the airport, squads of Japanese soldiers hurriedly ran over. They were the last 3,000 soldiers stationed in Yang City, originally planning to hold their position here, but the sudden attack by the Jekka group caught them completely off guard. Now they could only choose to rush to Yang City Airport to escape. We are from the 12th Infantry Regiment under the 2nd Division of Japan. We now plan to board a plane to leave Chan country. The commander of this Japanese infantry regiment, Kondo Taro, shouted loudly, violently pushing away the crowd blocking the way, making a move to break into the airport. You can't come in, you wait for the next batch of planes to retreat. However, the beautiful country soldiers guarding the airport gate had no intention of allowing passage. Now, all the military and civilian aircraft within Yang City Airport had been requisitioned by them, and even their own paratrooper troops had barely managed to secure transportation. There was no extra capacity for these Japanese soldiers. What are you saying at this critical time, waiting for the next batch of flights when Jekka Group's genetic warriors are about to attack us? Where do we have time? This isn't about waiting for the next batch of planes. It's clearly sending us to our deaths. Kondo Taro was furious. Some of the military aircraft in the airport belonged to Japan, and while it was one thing for the beautiful country to use their own aircraft, it was entirely another to deny them access to their own planes. This is an order from our superiors. We are just carrying it out. The beautiful country officer guarding the gate looked down on the Japanese soldiers with contempt. They were nothing but dogs raised by themselves. In a critical moment, it was natural to sacrifice the pawns to save the king. There was no reason for the dogs to run ahead of their master. Our superiors ordered us to evacuate. Brothers, let's charge in together. Kondo Taro's face turned ashen, and with a sweeping gesture of his hand, the Japanese soldiers behind him raised their weapons, aiming at the beautiful country soldiers. Let us into the airport immediately. Open the gate quickly, or don't blame us for shooting. Damn Europe and America devils. I knew they were up to no good. If it comes down to it, we'll fight them. The Japanese soldiers were angrily shouting, thinking of themselves as expendables, and everyone felt anger boiling inside them. Damn! What do you think you're doing? You little dwarfs, keep in line, or my bullets will firmly lodge in your asses. Have you Japanese forgotten your place? Do you want to end up in a military court? The beautiful country soldiers also aimed their guns at the Japanese soldiers. It was such a reversal of the natural order. The dogs they had raised now wanted to turn on their owners. In the distance, as he was preparing to board, Colonel Mike of the beautiful country received news and his face turned red with anger. General Yoshimura, how are you managing your troops? Even though Yoshimura Yuichi held a much higher rank than Mike didn't care about that when he scolded him. All because he was an officer from the beautiful country, and Japan was nothing more than their dog. After understanding the situation, Yoshimura Yuichi's face was a mix of suffocation and embarrassment, and with an awkward smile, he said, Colonel Mike, now that things have come to this, let my troops in, so we can face the crisis together. Humph. I can let your soldiers in, but they have to leave all their weapons behind. Mike snorted coldly, knowing that if he firmly blocked the Japanese soldiers from entering, it might provoke an internal conflict. After all, in the face of death, the Japanese soldiers might not respect ranking, and this vicious dog was capable of biting. It was better to let them in first. Without weapons, it was still up to them what happened next. Yoshimura Yuichi's face changed slightly. He had realized that Mike intended to abandon these thousands of Japanese troops. General Yoshimura, the overall situation must be the priority. Next to him, the president of Chan spoke earnestly. Naturally, he stood with the beautiful country, who could question the might of their bigger fists. Even if you report this to your prime minister, it's useless. According to the security agreement, you can only cooperate with us. Mike looked at Yoshimura Yuichi coldly, prepared to confront him if Yoshimura didn't agree. Yoshimura Yuichi's eyes struggled for several seconds before he finally gritted his teeth and said, Fine. I will inform them. Soon, following the orders of Yoshimura Yuichi, the Japanese soldiers besieging Yang City Airport burst into cheers. General Yoshimura has fought for an opportunity for us to leave. Everyone, put down your weapons and enter the airport. General Yoshimura said that carrying weapons adds too much weight. If we go unarmed, more people can fit on the planes. Kondo Taro excitedly announced the news, and then led a group of jubilant soldiers to lay down their weapons and orderly enter the airport, where they were arranged to wait at a specified area. As time trickled by, half an hour later, the waiting Japanese soldiers were becoming impatient. Why has it been so long and we're still not boarding? Pacing back and forth, Kondo Taro was secretly anxious when suddenly he faintly heard some rowdy shouting in the distance. It's the genetic warriors. Jekka Group's devils are killing their way here. Kondo Taro slid open the window and raised his binoculars for a look. Outside Yong City Airport, he saw several figures dressed in biological armor pushing through the crowd, with every step they took feeling as if they were stomping on Kondo Taro's heart, making his breathing rapid and cold sweat continuously break out on his forehead. The genetic warriors are here. Everyone hurry to the airport runway. With a shout from Kondo Taro, the Japanese soldiers around him were scared stiff. With weapons, they were no match for the Jekka Group, let alone now when they were unarmed. Facing the genetic warriors, those cruel and bloodthirsty demons, without any weapon was like having no possibility of resistance. Throngs of Japanese soldiers rushed towards the runway, only to arrive and be dumbfounded, because military transport planes and commercial aircraft were filled with soldiers from the beautiful country, which at that moment were taking off one after another on the runway. And for the ones not yet fully loaded, soldiers from the beautiful country kept boarding. There was no intention of calling for the Japanese soldiers at all. Kondo Taro's pupils dilated, and he trembled with rage when he realized what was happening. Those bastards, they lied to us. They never intended to take us with them. General Yoshimura also deceived us. They want to leave us here to die. Everyone, quick, get on the planes. Take the chance while there's still one. Hurry. As his words echoed, Kondo Taro began running, followed by a massive wave of Japanese soldiers. Not only Japanese soldiers, but with the retreat of the beautiful country, Yong City Airport was left completely unguarded, and the crowds from Chan Country burst through the gates and ran inside. Let me on. Inside the airplane cargo door, which hadn't completely risen, a large group of Japanese soldiers desperately tried to climb the boarding stairs, to the point where even the cargo doors could not be closed. Bang, bang, bang. Inside the cargo hold, the soldiers from the beautiful country fired directly, shooting the Japanese soldiers trying to board the planes. Blood stained the cargo hold red, and many of the Japanese soldiers couldn't believe they were dying by the guns of their own allies to their very last breath. Click. The cargo door shut, and the airplane began to slowly taxi. However, the runway was already overwhelmed by Japanese soldiers. Beautiful country soldiers in Apache armed helicopters cleared the way at low altitude, their mighty downdraft pushing the crowd back and even using the machine guns to strafe directly. Then one by one, the planes began accelerating on the runway. As the planes were about to take off, the Japanese soldiers went into a total frenzy. A huge number of Japanese soldiers chased after the planes, desperately trying to board the plane that symbolized freedom, piling up even on the landing gear. However, as the planes ascended to hundreds, even thousands of meters high and their speed increased, people began falling from the landing gear like flying objects from the sky. The Japanese soldiers, along with a series of shrill screams, plummeted from hundreds of meters in the air and smashed onto the ground, becoming piles of gore, crushed to pieces by their beautiful country daddies. At this moment, the wealthy businessmen from Chan Country, warlords and leaders of criminal organizations, along with those yearning for the freedom of the beautiful country, also ran over, crowding the airport runway. But the accelerating planes wouldn't stop or swerve. The wheels crushed the people beneath them like fragile shells, without the slightest hesitation. Collapsing, screaming, crying, pleading. The air of despair spread across the airport, resembling hell on earth. It could be said that the runway from which the planes took off was like a road paved with flesh and blood, everywhere strewn with blood, minced flesh, and severed limbs and organs. And it was only at this time that the genetic warriors from Jekka Group arrived late, starting to take control of the situation and capture prisoners. Several single-soldier missiles were launched, and several planes were shot down. One transport plane, in particular, received extra attention. It was the exact plane General Yoshimura Yuichi of Japan was aboard. Under the barrage of single-soldier missiles, the cumbersome strategic transport plane was like a clumsy goose, completely unable to evade effectively, and eventually crashed to the ground in a trail of black smoke. On board, General Yoshimura Yuichi and a group of high-ranking Japanese military officers, along with the president of Chan and his family, all went to their deaths together. All their scheming came to nothing in the end, as they couldn't escape their mortal fate. The other planes had no thoughts of revenge, instead escaping even faster, gaining enough height and distance to slip out of range of the single-soldier missiles and fleeing in great haste. With the flight of the beautiful country's troops, Yang City finally fell completely into the hands of JECA Group. It also signified the end of the Chan country government, as JECA Group would officially take over the supreme power of the country. The next day, videos from Yang City Airport were leaked online. When they saw Japanese soldiers abandoned by the beautiful country, falling freely from the sky, Japanese netizens were outraged. Damn white barbarians! How dare they treat the soldiers of the great Sakura Empire this way? This is a provocation to the dignity of our nation. We must protest, break free of the various restrictive agreements imposed by the beautiful country on us, expel the beautiful country's troops stationed in our territory. We should no longer be controlled by beautiful country. They never even regarded us as human. Haha, let those bastards from the self-defense team die. Serves them right for being the dogs of the beautiful country. They had it coming. I don't feel sorry for them at all. You, above, are you still a citizen of Japan? What does it have to do with me? They're dead, so be it. I'm not the one licking the beautiful country's boots. You're obviously just a destitute hermit with no sense of national honor. Japanese netizens were filled with righteous indignation online. Many Japanese had deluded themselves into believing that they had an equal relationship with the beautiful country and that Japan was an indispensable partner to the beautiful country. But the incident at Yang City Airport undoubtedly tore off this veil of shame. Many Japanese saw how the beautiful country's soldiers treated their self-defense team members. This was like trampling on the face of Japan, completely disregarding Japan as an ally. Overnight, online condemnation towards the beautiful country increased significantly. The hatred for the JECA Group was transferred to the beautiful country. They launched petitions on the official government website of Japan, demanding that the Japanese government stand up and ask the beautiful country for an explanation. But the Japanese government remained completely indifferent to this, and not to mention issuing any statement blaming the beautiful country. They did not even dare to mention the beautiful country's name, hoping to downplay the incident quietly. The families of the soldiers who died or were captured at Yang City Airport were unwilling to let this go. They gathered in front of Tokyo Congress Building, holding banners and protesting vigorously. Even military families went to the military bases of the beautiful country to demonstrate and protest. Out of desperation and seeing that the situation was uncontrollable, the Prime Minister of Japan had no choice but to come forward and bow in apology. Regarding the Yang City Airport incident, there was limited airplane capacity at the time, and we had already negotiated with the beautiful country, who would withdraw in one batch first, with our forces to follow in the second batch. However, due to the incitement of the on-site commander, the situation escalated into this regrettable incident. The action taken by the beautiful country at that time was also out of helplessness, because if everyone crowded on the plane, it would not have been able to take off. This statement was unconvincing, but the Japanese government made no further response. After all, I've already bowed. What more do you want? To appease its top lapdog, the beautiful country also issued a statement, claiming it would call on all members of the Eight-Nation Group to donate, offering special compensation to the families of Japanese soldiers who died or were injured in Chan country, to compensate those who bravely fought in Chan country. Although it was clear to any discerning person that this was merely a pacifying measure by the beautiful country. But many Japanese still believed in the goodwill of the beautiful country. Essentially, both the citizens and governmental authorities of Japan harbored a reverence for strength. Since they could not resist the leash of the beautiful country, they pretended to be blind and deaf, deluding themselves that the beautiful country was their benevolent master. Considering that Japan, both militarily and economically, was already deeply intertwined with the beautiful country, it was virtually impossible to decouple. Even after being subjected to such resentment during World War II, even experiencing 2 atomic bombings, Japan was still ingratiating itself with the beautiful country. It's evident how twisted this reverence for strength was throughout Japan, from top to bottom. As Yang City, the most dazzling gem of Chan country, fell into the hands of the Jeka group, the conflict also approached its end. All remaining provinces in Chan country, upon receiving the decree, announced their allegiance to the Jeka group even before the army arrived. In less than a week, the entire Chan country was festooned with the flags of the Jeka group. This nation, blessed with rich natural resources, a population of 55 million, a territorial area of 676,578 square kilometers, a coastline of 2,655 kilometers, and spanning approximately 290 kilometers from north to south and 925 kilometers at its widest from east to west, was completely occupied by the Jeka group. This power shift in Chan country also caused several tremors across the international community. Although it was known from the battle in the Ruakai Mountains that the Jeka group held an absolute advantage, the rapid conquest of the entire territory of Chan country was beyond everyone's expectations, especially since the beautiful country had just announced its intentions and had been driven out of Yang City by the Jeka group, leaving no room for face-saving for the beautiful country. Although Chan country might not have been well known internationally, it was still a nation with a population exceeding 50 million. Now, it being occupied by the Jeka group under the circumstances of battling the 8-nation group felt quite different to observers. After the Jeka group formally announced the complete occupation of Chan country, the international community also featured it straight at the forefront of headlines, with extensive coverage on the news. Chan country welcomes a new tyrant, a cold-blooded, cruel warmonger, who will surely bring Chan country into the abyss. From a commoner to controlling a country, recounting the rise of the Jeka group. The discord between the beautiful country and Japan, the aerial man incident at Yang City Airport. Where will the relations between the two countries go from here? Jeka group took over Chan country, a so-called business corporation, has stolen the sovereignty of a nation. Beautiful country, New York, Black Palace. An informal meeting was being held here. The 48th president of the beautiful country, Lawrence Fernando, sat behind his desk, scanning various newspapers with a displeased expression. Look at what you've done. Is this your way of hitting back at Jeka group? The more you try to suppress it, the more it grows, and now it has entirely occupied Chan country. Standing opposite Lawrence were 2 men, Judith, the deputy director of the CIA, and Admiral Panda Dzerzhinsky, commander of the Indo-Pacific Command. Mr. President, the CIA did not handle it well. Jeka group's power developed too fast, with endless black technologies emerging, and we did not anticipate the enemy would be so tough. Judith sincerely bowed his head, and as the deputy director of CIA, specifically in charge of all intelligence on the Jeka group, he had failed to extract valuable intelligence from them. Whether it was various technologies like biochemical gene technology, pharmaceutical technology, electronic shielding, 3D glasses technology, and so on, or the military distribution and defensive layouts of the Jeka group. During the civil war in Chan country, the CIA's role amounted to merely contacting a few warlords in the Northern Territory, slightly disrupting a part of Jeka group's forces, which was barely better than nothing. Mr. President, the commander from Japan was too incompetent, committing the classic error of underestimating the enemy, and fell right into Jeka group's traps without knowing it. The use of genetic warriors, well beyond the scope of conventional warfare, led to our defeat in this war, said Admiral Panda. He commanded the Indo-Pacific Command, overseeing regions including Russia, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, India, Australia, and Hawaii in the vicinity of the Indian and Pacific Oceans, truly a high-ranking general. The war that had broken out in Chan country was also within his jurisdiction. Instead of participating directly, beautiful country had driven Japan to cooperate with the Chan country government in the fight, while Beautiful Country itself provided logistical resources and intelligence support. They had originally hoped this would lead to the destruction of Jekka Group, but contrary to their wishes, the war they had initiated ended in a disastrous defeat, losing Chan Country, a critical base against Jekka Group. Japan, after the initial air raids, they confidently spoke of imminent victory, but it was all empty talk. How did Jekka Group manage to evade the initial airstrikes? President Lawrence also had major grievances against Japan. He had already offered Japan significant benefits, intending to loosen the metaphorical leash around its neck to let this fierce dog bite more effectively. After giving Japan a chance, and they proved futile. The loss of over 20,000 expeditionary forces was simply embarrassing. By then, Lawrence had already forgotten the embarrassing defeat at Mengjia Bay, where Beautiful Country's forces saw thousands of casualties and lost many transport ships. However, Lawrence had his excuses. That failure was left by his predecessor and had nothing to do with him, the newly inaugurated. We have already discovered that under Jekka Group's rule, in East Chin State and Ji State, enormous underground transit lines and bases were excavated and built. They deliberately established fake targets and empty warehouses and bases during the outbreak of the war specifically to make us lower our guard, Lawrence said. Admiral Panda cleared his throat and continued. Jekka Group came prepared, facing unprepared foes, and with genetic warriors being extremely formidable, especially in jungle warfare, more flexible and terrifying than conventional armored units. Why can't we develop genetic warriors and super soldiers like these? We, the United States, besides our aircraft carrier fleets, must also possess this kind of ultimate individual combat strength, said Lawrence as he knocked on the table, envious of such military power, which would be incredibly useful in special operations, as evident from Jekka Group's effective soldier deployment. Now our major medical institutions have come together to try to crack the secrets of the super soldiers and genetic warriors. But progress is limited. We still need time, said Judith, though he felt relying on medical groups and those military industries to replicate Jekka Group's technology was highly unlikely to succeed. Since Jekka Group was on a completely different track with their biotech military technology, which was entirely different from the main research direction of the rest of the world, it was not easy to replicate or learn from them. Now that Chan Country is fully occupied by Jekka Group, if we were to improve relations with them, could we learn or purchase relevant technology from them? Lawrence posed this question, a realization fitting for a politician. There is nothing that cannot be discussed between countries, regardless of how fierce the fighting was in the past. It still does not hinder the possibility of future cooperation between two countries. There are far too many such examples. There's a saying that goes well, between countries, there are no eternal friends or enemies, only eternal interests. It's difficult, not to mention our past relations with Jekka Group, that biotechnology and medicine are almost all core technologies of Jekka Group. It's highly unlikely they would disseminate it. Judith shook her head. As long as Jekka Group isn't foolish, they are certain not to disperse their technology. That is the foundation on which Jekka Group stands. Once outsiders learn it, Jekka Group's advantage would vanish instantly. President, we can only persist in taking the confrontational route, though we will have to slightly delay the military confrontation. We need to impose sanctions on Jekka Group in other areas. Panda cleared his throat twice and suggested. Jekka Group used to be just a local armed force with a very limited population under its control. But now that they occupy the whole of Chan Country, this is both their advantage and their disadvantage. With a population burden of over 50 million, Chan Country is merely a traditional agricultural country. If Jekka Group only makes the lives of the people there difficult, internal explosions and a color revolution that could overthrow Jekka Group's rule aren't out of question. Especially since the leaders of Jekka Group are foreigners and their ruling foundation is inherently weak. This is indeed an opportunity. Lawrence's eyes lit up. In the current era of globalization, Europe and America dominate the majority of the world economy. If it were possible to exclude Chan Country from the world economic system and prevent their participation in the international division of labor, then their human resource advantage of over 50 million people would become 50 million mouths desperately in need, which could drag down Jekka Group. Like North Korea and Pakistan, with long-term semi-closed economic systems, they manage to survive playing by their own rules, and their planned economy and unique political systems maintain a small wealth gap, but to say that the people there live well is a matter of opinion. After all, with paltry wages and state-rationed goods, having money does not guarantee access to commodities, let alone when there's no money. JECA Group indeed has a large scale, but maintaining the status quo in Chan country is easy. Trying to develop it further is insufficient. Judith calculated in her mind, JECA Group's annual revenues are around $100 billion. It sounds like a lot, but managing a country is very expensive, amounting to just under $2,000 per capita. Even though Chan country has some output of its own, it isn't enough to develop a poor, backward agricultural country into a high-level nation. And the reason JECA Group has such widespread support in Chan country, with many people welcoming them with gongs and drums, is mainly because JECA Group truly improved the local standard of living and economic income. But if JECA Group is incapable of governing Chan country, the local people's enthusiasm for supporting JECA Group will definitely diminish. And Beautiful Country is very skilled at instigating color revolutions. When it comes to dealing with JECA Group, it would be much easier. Let's set up a joint office from different departments to handle this matter. Lawrence had already made up his mind. Since it was difficult to deal with JECA Group militarily, they would have to approach it from other angles. When it comes to sanctioning a country, they in Beautiful Country are indeed very experienced. A week later, in Yong City, the capital of Chan country, the chaos from a week ago had dissipated, and everything looked as it had in the past, but many changes had quietly taken place. Early in the morning, Wu Baoxian rode his tricycle, the rear basket filled with breakfast pastries he planned to sell, to Lion Water Street, located near several schools, where business was always good. As soon as he opened his stall, Wu Baoxian's business began to pick up. "Hey, Oldly, you went back to your hometown to escape the turmoil, didn't you? When did you get back?" Seeing an old customer appear, Wu Baoxian asked in surprise. The man opposite him was also an old man, who had fled to the countryside back when the conflict between the Chan country government and JECA Group was fierce, taking his entire family for fear of being caught in the crossfire. "Hi, I got back the day before yesterday. I had no choice but to return." Oldly, with a blissful smile, said, "My house was bought by the JECA Group. They said they want to build a big hospital there to treat the people, and offered more than the market price for it. Haven't you heard about it in the city?" Wu Baoxian shook his head, saying, "I really didn't pay attention, though I often saw those wearing JECA Group uniforms drawing on the streets, talking about modernizing city planning or something. So that's what they were up to." "Exactly, that's it. Not just in the city, in the countryside too. Every household is being encouraged to get rich by raising insects. My daughter and her family are thinking of trying it out." "Is that reliable?" The staff from JECA Group assured us that they guarantee to buy back the insects, and after doing the math, it turns out to be much more profitable than farming. Such a large corporation wouldn't likely cheat me of this small amount of money. "What about your land in the countryside? Are you using it all to raise insects?" "No need for so much land. The remaining I've given to an agricultural subsidiary of JECA Group. They said they want to develop large-scale mechanized farming." Oldly grew more and more excited as he spoke, while Wu Baoxian listened with a hint of envy, saying, "JECA Group really is good to you. Too bad I, an old man, have neither house nor land, only able to make a small business." As they were chatting, Wu Baoxian suddenly shivered when he saw several market regulators in blue uniforms approaching. His face darkened, and he inwardly cursed his bad luck. But then he saw the market regulators start to approach every vendor. "Time to pay up. Pay the sanitation fee. What are you waiting for?"
20,000 Zen coins per spot.
The market regulators called out as Wu Baoxian reluctantly took out the money. 20,000 Zen coins amounted to several days of his income, but without paying these market regulators, he couldn't even dream of doing his business. Soon, the regulators reached him, and Wu Baoxian dutifully handed over the money. "Good. May your business prosper." The regulators smiled broadly, but it was at this moment that a whistle sounded outside. A group of JECA soldiers, armed with rifles and dressed in JECA military uniforms, ran over and immediately detained the market regulators. The market regulators turned pale when they saw the Jekka soldiers. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. We're on the same side. Who's on your side? We received a complaint from the public that it was you extorting and fleecing here. We've only just taken over Yang City and haven't dealt with these pests yet. You still dare to be so happy? Go and reform at the mines then. The Jekka soldiers sneered, returning the money they had just collected to the vendors. Because the entire territory of Chan country was occupied, Jekka Group's management experienced some chaos. The old bureaucratic elements couldn't be entirely cleaned out immediately, and new talents were still being recruited and trained, necessitating Jekka soldiers to also help maintain order. Wu Baoxian witnessed the whole scene, staring at the money that had returned to his hands, his mouth agape for a long while. I know now why everyone supports Jekka Group so strongly. After a long while, Wu Baoxian sighed, finally feeling the change brought by the arrival of Jekka Group. Before Jekka Group's arrival, just like those market regulators, there was no fair play. People with a bit of power would exploit all means to scrape off public wealth, seizing others' riches, and even the poor would be bled dry. Wu Baoxian had even grown accustomed to that life, but Jekka Group's recent actions showed him that there was still fairness and justice in the world. I'm telling you, Jekka Group is 10,000 times better than the former Chan country. Old Li wore a happy face. He truly felt the country was improving. Wu Baoxian nodded repeatedly. I hope Jekka Group can stay here forever, so that everyone can have better days. By evening, Wu Baoxian finished his busy day and hurried back home. His so-called home was merely a small, old, and run-down courtyard rented from someone else. As soon as he entered, Wu Baoxian saw his grandson cooking with firewood, his young face blackened by soot. At just 9 years old, he already cooked quite proficiently. Wu Baoxian had been widowed early. His son had a leg disability and could no longer work in the fields, and his daughter-in-law left home with their 5 children and never returned. It was Wu Baoxian who supported the entire family on his modest income. After entering the courtyard, Wu Baoxian sniffed and immediately smelled meat cooking. Seeing chicken in the pot his grandson was cooking, and even a fish beside it, left him astonished. One must know, his family was so poor that their daily meals were basically just porridge with some pickles. Sometimes when the business wasn't good, there was no porridge at all. They could only eat sweet potatoes and other coarse grains, especially his grandchildren, who were at the age when they could eat a lot, often went hungry. Now, it wasn't a holiday or a special occasion, so why was today so luxurious? Grandpa, we have guests at home, you should come in and see. His grandson, seeing him, revealed a happy smile and quickly ran over to pull him into the house. Wu Baoxian entered the house and saw several bags of rice, flour, oil, and various necessities piled up in the corner. 2 young men and women, wearing Jekka Group uniforms, were talking to his bedridden son. His grandchildren, each holding a lollipop, were gathered around those 2 strangers, sweetly calling them uncle and auntie. Dad, come quick. These are Jekka Group employees. His son, upon seeing him, immediately waved him over, evidently having a pleasant chat with the 2 Jekka Group employees beforehand. You must be Uncle Wu. I'm Su Run and this is my colleague Zhang Lanong. The 2 Jekka employees also turned around, extending their hands towards him. Hello, hello. I know of Jekka Group. You've come to my house because... Wu Baoxian asked, feeling very flustered and cautious. It's like this. Due to your family's difficult living conditions, which reached the assistance standards of Jekka Group, we've come specifically to represent Jekka Group and offer you some material support. Su Run chuckled, explaining their purpose. Wu Baoxian was stunned. In all his years, this was the first time he'd heard of officials giving out food for free. Really? Really? Wu Baoxian hardly dared to believe what he was hearing. This Jekka Group was actually going to provide him with food. We at Jekka Group wouldn't lie to people. We are currently promoting this initiative throughout Chan country. Su Run said proudly, describing the initiative to him. General Su said Jekka Group isn't here to cause trouble, but to ensure everyone has enough to eat and keep warm. That's our unchanging original intention at Jekka Group. Wu Baoxian felt like he was listening to a legend. When dealing with the Chan country government, they never stopped piling on various exorbitant taxes, always finding ways to empty the few coins in their pockets. At this point, Zhang Lanong joined in. Uncle Wu, I see your grandchildren are all of school age but not attending school. That won't do. We at Jekka Group have a rule that education is compulsory. Wu Baoxian waved his hands in embarrassment. Going to school? No, no, no. I don't have that kind of money for school fees. They can't afford to study. You don't have to pay anything. School expenses are covered. That's a rule at Jekka Group. Zhang Lanong explained with a smile, mentioning how Jekka Group had special education funds. Unlike the Chan country government, which penny-pinched at every turn, Jekka Group was affluent to an entirely different degree, adopting compulsory education in one fell swoop. Also, one more thing, we just checked your son's legs, and it seems his leg muscles haven't atrophied much. There's a possibility of recovery if treated at a major hospital. We can help you apply for special medical aid for those in extreme poverty to get him hospital treatment, also at no cost to you. Upon hearing this, Wu Baoxian's pupils dilated, overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down his face as he suddenly knelt on the ground. Thank you, thank you. You folks at Jekka Group are truly good people. That's not necessary at all. Su Run and Zhang Lanong hurriedly helped him to his feet. Wu Baoxian, holding his excited son and calling over his grandchildren, said, Jekka Group, I will definitely support you from now on. When my grandchildren grow up, I'll also have them work for Jekka Group. Little Bao and you kids, when you grow up, will you work for Jekka Group? Okay. Yes, yes. Auntie just said that the place she works at has lots of candy. I want to be a soldier for the Jekka Group too. Super awesome. And I can specifically fight the bad guys. Grandpa, what is Jekka Group? Is it tasty? The youngest granddaughter's teasing brought laughter to the room, filling it with joyful noises and chuckles. Scenes like this occurred throughout Chan country. After gaining complete control over Chan country, Jekka Group started to implement their various initiatives with great force, altering almost everything from top to bottom that had been wrong with Chan country in the past, rejuvenating the entire nation. In doing so, Jekka Group naturally touched the bottom line of a large number of vested interests, primarily the landlords and the gentry. Although Jekka Group hadn't confiscated their lands, everyone went to raise insects instead, and no one helped them with the farming, leaving the land to lay idle. Through this method, Jekka Group easily reclaimed most of the state-owned land and embarked on large-scale intensive farming. These people did think about stirring up some trouble, but Jekka Group responded with a lightning action, carrying out a purge for half a month, arresting a batch and executing another, eliminating all voices of opposition. As long as the people who raised issues were dealt with, then all other issues naturally ceased to be problems. Jekka Group's actions were simple and crude, but incredibly effective. Any landlords and gentry who caused trouble were usually greeted by a knock on the door from Jekka soldiers and had their property confiscated and were thrown into prison. Then there were a few of the biggest local landlords in Chan country who relied on their private armies, but Jekka Group soldiers didn't come for them, because what came were genetic warriors. A team of 3 genetic warriors was enough to decimate the 1,000-man private forces of these landlords, and then they were arrested and taken back for trial. Jekka Group, which had managed to repel the 8-nation group, found dealing with the small-time gentry's private soldiers to be like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, sweeping away all resistance with ease as if it were autumn leaves. Yang City Golden Pagoda. This is the most famous landmark of Chan country, with the pagoda being built in the year 585 BCE, standing at 112 meters tall with a base covering 115 square meters. The body of the pagoda was adorned with over 1,000 sheets of pure gold leaf, and the amount of gold employed weighed more than 7 tons. Around the tower hung over 15,000 gold and silver bells. When the wind blew, the ringing was crisp and pleasant to the ear, carrying in all directions. Su Jie was currently accompanying Lu Yingying on a tour here. Now that the conflicts in Chan country had ceased, he also took the time to bring Yingying around. Su Jie, I've arranged everything for the celebration in 3 days. Some countries will send representatives to attend. Lu Yingying curled her arm through Su Jie's as they snuggled together at the top viewing area of the pagoda. Although she had been traveling recently, she was worried about the lack of proper management below and frequently inquired personally. After all, from that day onward, JECA Group was set to officially enter the global stage, dealing with hundreds of nations and regions worldwide. Didn't we agree not to talk about work? Su Jie pinched Lu Yingying's cheek, urging her not to overwork herself. I just can't help worrying, you see. Such an important event, it concerns JECA Group's reputation and foundation, and all the media from around the world will be there. If we mess up, it will be in front of the entire world. Lu Yingying covered her rear, responding irritably to Su Jie. And you still find time to relax. Have you memorized your speech for that day? Does your man need to memorize that? I'll just improvise as I go along. Su Jie held Lu Yingying in his lap and smiled, asking, by the way, have the invitations been sent out to the 8-nation group? How did they respond? They said they would come just like you guessed. I thought they wouldn't come actually. After the standard procedure, they're probably trying to probe our reality. Su Jie narrowed his eyes. The brightness at that moment was sure to let the whole world witness the new power of JECA Group. March 27th. In Chan Country's Yang City, a military parade is being held on Central Street. Crowds from all directions flocked to the parade site, constantly standing on tiptoes to catch a glimpse. On a viewing stand, representatives from various countries arrived with their delegations, taking their seats one after another. Not only countries that often dealt with JECA Group were present, but members of the G7 were also in attendance. Of course, to be precise, it should now be called the G7, as the Chan Country government had already been overthrown, and Chan Country had a new master. The representative from the beautiful country was Judith, who attended in person, accompanied by Japan's representative Chongdao Yimou and Siam's Bansong Chalermpong. You beautiful country people actually came here too. I doubt the locals will welcome you. Aren't you afraid of being attacked? The representative from Mao Bear Country, Alexei, mocked the group as he approached them. We've been invited. If even the safety of the guests cannot be ensured, such a country had better not embarrass themselves on the international stage. Judith responded indifferently, returning the mockery without any reservation. Ha! Haven't you been embarrassed enough? Who said they wanted to intervene militarily in the Chan Country's situation? How come you fled from Yang City Airport with your tails between your legs? Alexei smirked, directly exposing beautiful country's embarrassing scar. However, Judith managed to keep his composure, but Chongdao Yimou, the representative from Japan beside him, couldn't hold back. The incident at Yang City Airport was an eternal pain in the heart of Japan. I heard that Mao Bear Country is going to provide an interest-free loan to JECA Group to support local military enterprises. In my opinion, it's not certain that JECA Group will be able to maintain stable rule. Isn't Mao Bear Country afraid of losing everything by making such a big bet here? Chongdao Yimou looked at Alexei's entourage behind him. Mao Bear Country hadn't just sent Alexei, but an entire team comprising business representatives and military experts. Dozens of them. The scale of their presence signaled that Mao Bear Country intended to sign a multitude of cooperation agreements with the JECA Group. We naturally have our considerations. JECA Group has managed to occupy Chan Country, and at the moment, I see no risks. Alexei chuckled. As long as JECA Group could draw even a little of the beautiful country's attention in Southeast Asia, it was worth supporting them. Although the current Mao Bear Country wasn't as financially powerful as the former Red Empire, they were still open to signing mutually beneficial agreements, such as those involving various energy and mineral resources. Mao Bear Country was a major exporter of energy on a global scale. JECA Group now occupied Chan Country, and the nation was ripe for revival and development. Transforming it into a modern country would undoubtedly generate immense wealth, and the potential for external cooperation was vast, enough to make the mouths of capitalists water. Therefore, it wasn't just Mao Bear Country, but Hua Country, India, South Korea, even Japan, and capitalists within the beautiful country that could not resist coming here to seek engagement. Capital always chases profit. It's intrinsic. Fighting and killing is outdated. We're in an era of peace now, and in business, courteous cooperation is the key to wealth. A voice joined the conversation. It was Hua Country's representative Tang Chowan, who also brought a large team, clearly prepared to pursue extensive cooperation with the Jekka Group. Hua Country had arrived even earlier than Mao Bear Country, having already toured around Chan Country and finalized a series of cooperative matters with Jekka Group's upper management. Coming from you, that's not very persuasive. Judith's face twitched. If it weren't for your fleet being launched like dumplings recently, I might actually believe your nonsense. While the few conversed, noon approached, and suddenly a thunderous cheer erupted from the crowd. A motorcade slowly made its way forward, with Su Jie seated in one of the convertibles. Mr. Su, it's Mr. Su. Ah, I finally get to see General Su in person. General Su, I love you. This is the controller of Jekka Group? So young. The people on both sides of the street crane their necks to see. If not for the police and soldiers maintaining order, the convoy would probably have been completely blocked, creating a fervent scene. With Jekka Group's occupation of Chan Country and the repulse of the Eight Nation Group, Su Jie had become a household name in Chan Country. He really is young. Judith pursed his lips. This was his first time seeing Su Jie, the nemesis of the beautiful country, in person. With a handsome face and bright eyes, he seemed harmless but was not the type of person who looked as if he would enjoy killing. Yet it was precisely this man who had become the beautiful country's major problem, repeatedly causing them to return home defeated. A young hero indeed. The internet wasn't wrong. Others are ennobled and made prime ministers at 25, becoming masters of a nation. Truly a legendary life. Tang Chowan sighed. In Hua Country, Su Jie's popularity was explosive among average netizens. As a native of Hua Country, he had founded his own company which went on to occupy a country with tens of millions of people and even matched the Eight Nation Group move for move. Such a legendary story perfectly fulfilled the netizens' desire for sensational news, making Su Jie's face known to virtually everyone on various social media platforms. A great adversary to the empire. There will come a day. A flash of anger passed through Chongdao Yimao's eyes. This man had brought too much suffering to Japan, with thousands of Japanese soldiers still imprisoned in Chan Country's mines. This man is too dangerous. Bansong Chalermpong looked at Su Jie, feeling inexplicably apprehensive. As a neighboring country bordering Chan Country and also a member of the Eight Nation Group, the fate of the Chan Country government served as a warning to him. Siam shared too many borders with Chan Country and, being enemies within the Eight Nation Group, plus having the war-mad Su Jie, put immense pressure on Siam. Su Jie ascended the podium, accompanied by Lu Yingying and a host of important figures from the Jekka Group, greeting the guests present. When it was Judith's turn, Su Jie smiled while shaking hands with her. I've heard, Director Zhu, that you have an office specifically aimed at the Jekka Group. I would love to visit sometime and learn from your advanced experience. Judith, bold and discerning, responded with her head held high. Mr. Su, we are always ready to welcome you, and I will personally roll out the red carpet to greet you at the airport. There will definitely be an opportunity in the future. Su Jie smiled, brushing past Judith. After a good deal of cordial exchange, the parade ceremony was almost ready to begin. Lu Yingying briefly introduced the history of the Jekka Group's development and then announced, "Now, please allow Mr. Su, the chairman of the Jekka Group, to deliver his speech." Su Jie stepped up to the microphone at the podium. Looking out, there was a dense sea of people gathered here, tens of thousands of citizens, alongside a large number of domestic and foreign journalists. The words of Su Jie were broadcast on television across thousands of households in Chan Country, and through news and the internet were seen by countless people across the world. I am Su Jie. I am here to tell every citizen of Chan Country that, after a series of difficult and arduous wars, we have successfully seized a victory that belongs to justice, and this country will also embrace a rebirth. I hereby pledge that the reborn Chan Country will dedicate itself to eradicating poverty, solving hunger and disease, establishing a sound system, moving towards prosperity and strength, and ensuring external enemies never dare to bully us again. Now, let everyone witness the confidence of the Jekka Group, Our military capabilities are sufficient to protect our land. Now, I declare the parade celebration open. As soon as Su Jie finished speaking, a series of salutes sounded at the venue, followed by the military band playing the military anthem. Accompanied by the sound of neat footsteps, rows of JECA security soldiers marched forward, chests thrust out, and as they approached the podium, they raised their hands in salutation and shouted in unison, "Long live the JECA group! Long live Commander Su!" Many foreign guests nearby were taken aback, as they could see the military might on display was quite formidable. However, the true major powers were not concerned by this, as even with armored forces rolling past and warplanes roaring overhead, these could not shake them, for in terms of conventional weapons and military power, the JECA group was not yet considered significant. The reason why in Chan country, the common soldiers of the JECA group could easily defeat the Chan country government army and various local warlords was simply because they were too weak. The real ace of the JECA group was never the conventional soldiers, but those miraculously bioengineered soldiers. Next, marching forward is the JECA Security's Special Force Unit, Steel Camp, a distinguished unit that has experienced numerous battles, both large and small. They are a reliable and dependable people's force, a hero unit. In the live commentary at the venue, all the guests on the podium perked up and watched intently at the approaching unit. 100 Steel Camp genetic warriors appeared on the parade street, all clad in various types of biological armor. The 3-meter-tall armor shined brilliantly under the sunlight. Covered in various weapons, machine guns, rocket launchers, single-soldier missiles, flamethrowers, heavy mortars, and more, the Steel Camp genetic warriors resembled mobile fire platforms. Especially the look in the eyes of those genetic warriors, each one cold and ruthless as if people were nothing but grass, inspiring fear just by the sight. Steel Camp! Steel Camp! Steel Camp! The shouts of the crowd on both sides of the street resonated through the sky, loudly chanting the name of Steel Camp. Simply because the combat achievements of Steel Camp were too glorious, often 100 men annihilating tens of thousands, these exaggerated and unreasonable records naturally made this unit famous worldwide, recognized as the strongest individual force. Media from all over the world kept pressing their camera shutters, not wanting to miss this rare appearance of so many from Steel Camp together. Steel Camp truly as legendary. Judith, holding binoculars, felt the pressure from this unit as she furrowed her brow deeply. Not to mention Japan, as Changdao Imao watched this unit, his eyes nearly turned red. The other countries, seeing Steel Camp, displayed envious and jealous expressions, wishing their countries also had such premier bioengineered troops. Just when everyone thought the appearance of Steel Camp would be the grand finale and the parade was about to end, a strange noise came again. Clank, clank. The sound of mechanical twisting gradually became clear, and a massive shadow overshadowed the entire venue, leaving everyone's mouths agape. A 30-meter-tall mecha with 6 arms appeared in sight. On its cold metal body, numerous darkish gun ports and missile silos covered it, the smallest weapon being a 30mm machine gun, 6 arms equipped with 203mm caliber barrels, and its back equipped with rocket and missile launchers. As it moved, its speed showed none of the stiffness and clumsiness typical of heavy machinery, but rather it was quick and agile, as if equipped with an excellent shock absorption system, without damaging the ground at all, catching up to Steel Camp in just a few steps. The formerly intimidating Steel Camp, wearing 3-meter-tall biological armor as genetic warriors, seemed like grandfathers in front of this gigantic mecha, which stood like a grandfather to a grandchild. Due to its humanoid outline, this mecha gave an especially strong sensory impact, even greater than the shock of seeing a destroyer ship. This is self-developed by JECA Group, the Tiger main battle mecha, standing 38.9 meters tall and weighing 1635 tons, equipped with multiple weapon systems for both ground and air combat, possessing all-weather combat capabilities, and represents the latest research and development result of JECA Security against biological armor. When the voiceover reached this gigantic mecha, after a brief silence, thunderous exclamations of astonishment swept through the crowd, leaving the audience stunned. It wasn't just the spectators on the streets who were stunned. On the viewing platform, the foreign guests couldn't help but gasp in shock, watching with bulging eyes as the giant mecha passed by, overshadowed by its enormous form, especially the military experts whose eyes nearly popped out of their heads. Originally here to scrutinize Steel Camp, who expected JECA Group to give them such a massive fright. How could they create something straight out of a movie? Judith's face was extremely grave as she looked at her own military expert and said, "What do you think? Can this thing be combat capable? Such a large frame is just a target on modern battlefields, right?" The military expert shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Sir, based on the defensive effects of Steel Camp's biological armor, this size of mecha likely has an incredibly astonishing defense. Probably even regular rockets and tank armor-piercing bullets can't penetrate it. Only a missile could take it down. It's just uncertain what its anti-aircraft and evasion capabilities are. JECA Group has too much secret technology. Nobody dares to be sure now." Chong Dao Yimou, standing by the side, had his eyes gleaming as he watched the giant mecha. Japanese particularly adored such things, but regretfully it was a product from their archenemy, Japan, and they could only watch enviously. "Mr. Su, do you sell these Tiger main battle mechas?" Even countries friendly with JECA Group, like Russia, couldn't resist coming up to inquire. "Our military plans to equip 500 units of this type of mecha, and until we complete our own armament tasks, we are not considering sales." Su Jie spoke calmly, a faint smile hanging at the corner of his mouth. 500 units. "Mr. Su, are you trying to provoke an arms race?" Upon hearing this, the Siam representative Bansong Chalermpong was nearly scared to wet himself. With JECA Group undertaking such armament as a neighboring country, Siam was exceptionally on edge. JECA Group was already belligerent without this type of mecha, but if they were actually to equip 500 units of the Tiger main battle mechas, Siam might be flattened in no time. "What are you saying? We at JECA Group have always loved peace. Arming ourselves with this type of Tiger main battle mecha is merely for the protection of our own land." Su Jie responded with a smile, but no one believed him, especially the members of the 8-Nation Group, who watched the massive mecha as it slowly departed, feeling vulnerable in its wake. Meanwhile, at the scene, the news reporters were utterly frenzied, continuously snapping photos of the Tiger main battle mecha, wanting to capture every bit of its majestic form. This super mecha was definitively the first of its kind ever developed by mankind and was sure to be a sensational piece of news worldwide. Su Jie was very satisfied with the reaction at the scene. In fact, the Tiger main battle mecha present was just for show, actually controlled internally by a shrunk-down thousand-handed centipede, which moved the mecha by forcibly gathering together corpse hands. Currently, there was absolutely no possibility of large-scale production. Su Jie needed to demonstrate the power of JECA Group through military deception, just as Mao Bear Country and Beautiful Country did during the Cold War. And seeing the reaction at the scene, everyone clearly believed that JECA Group had indeed developed the first heavy mecha in human history. The Mechanical Era, discussing the pros and cons of JECA Group's new equipment, the Tiger main battle mecha. The Tiger main battle mecha's practical combat ability is worrisome. The famous military expert Everton said, "This mecha does not have practical combat value, and there is no need for concern. Human-shaped mechas are a mistake in the course of human military development. Military progress can't be made through underhanded methods." The next day, as expected, JECA Group's military parade celebration shot to the top of the world's news trends. The appearance of the Tiger main battle mecha, in particular, was like a thunderclap, sending shockwaves around the world. Despite numerous military experts stepping forward and vehemently pointing out the Tiger main battle mecha's flaws, calling it all style and no substance, the general public didn't care about that because the Tiger main battle mecha looked cool. The sight of equipment from movie fantasies appearing in reality, with its thick myriad of gun barrels, rugged lines, and overwhelming power, struck a chord with many. "Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! This mecha is perfect. It's almost 40 meters tall with so many weapon systems. If it were on the battlefield, I can't even imagine the power. I would gladly pay $1 million to pilot that mecha for just 5 minutes. Ah, that would be so awesome. Suddenly my Gundam toy doesn't seem so appealing anymore. I want a big toy like that too." The cost of it must be $1 billion. That's too rich for my blood. Looks like only a superpower can afford such a collectible. When is the beautiful country going to unveil its main battle mecha? Looking forward to it. Dream on, we can't even replicate their 3-meter-tall biological armor, let alone this 30-meter behemoth. Are you planning to replicate it with your head? It's just a good-looking, useless piece of metal. We in the beautiful country have aircraft carrier fleets. We don't give a damn about such monstrosities. To the person above, how do you view the beautiful country Congress's recent approval of an initiative to actively join with major military enterprises to expedite the development of single soldier mechas and main battle mechas, with a special allocation of $60 billion of mecha-specific funds as an act of nonchalance? It wasn't just online. Countries around the world had started to mobilize swiftly in response to the appearance of the Tiger main battle mecha. To promote the military development of new mechas, we will offer related mecha courses in many universities and intensify the development of intelligent robots and intelligent piloted ships. This was Hua Country's latest news announcement, where many universities even considered drawing esports champions into military focus, hoping these individuals could pilot mechas in combat. To explore the field of mechas further, establish research systems for mecha combat, and develop our own mechas. This was Russia's announcement, also intent on stepping into the realm of mechas. Mecha culture was developed by us, the Great Sakura Empire, and we must have our own mechas. The Imperial Science and Technology Union plans to create a mecha product within 3 years that will capture the world's attention. Preliminary designs for the mecha are underway, tentatively named Super Destroyer, representing the hopes of the Japan Empire soaring into the skies to obliterate all our enemies. The news from Japan was excitable and cringeworthy, with loud and thunderous slogans. Whether they actually had the capability, only heaven knew. After all, their reputation for craftsmanship had long been stigmatized internationally, with various frauds no longer surprising anyone. The JECA Group is wantonly hyping up an arms race, arming the mechanical army, and establishing biochemical supremacy. This is a provocation against global security. In response, just the other day, we decided to purchase a batch of the beautiful country's F-35 stealth fighters. This was news from Siam, trembling at the Tiger main battle mecha from JECA Group. Knowing they couldn't develop their own mechas, they quickly sought to cozy up to their beautiful country daddy. Using borrowed power to warn JECA Group, they were not to be trifled with. However, whether such a tactic could frighten JECA Group remained a question. After all, JECA Group had already taken on the beautiful country. If they dared mess with your beautiful country daddy, why would they fear you, Siam? It could be said that with the unveiling of the Tiger main battle mecha at JECA Group's military parade, the entire world was rocked by a tremendous shock. This was because genetic warriors previously wearing biological armor had demonstrated formidable prowess, single-handedly taking on hundreds. While the Tiger main battle mecha faced skepticism, nobody dared assert with certainty that it couldn't be used in real battles. Especially now, with JECA Group's military continually emerging victorious, it was easy for people to make blind assertions. Assuming that JECA Group, as the inventors of mechas, certainly understood their advantages, no one wanted to fall behind the times and aimed to join the mecha club. As modern warfare evolved, nuclear forces were virtually impossible to utilize, and armored troops were too clumsy, becoming easy targets for fighter jets and drones. Since JECA Group had previously demonstrated the superiority of mechas through Steel Camp, the sudden advent of the Tiger main battle mecha, a formidable new type of armor combined with human capabilities, naturally became the focal point of global military competition. For military superpowers, having a powerful mecha force to defend national security, preserve territorial integrity, and maintain a balance of power among major countries was crucial. Everyone wanted to be part of this military transformation. However, these countries did not realize that the Tiger main battle mecha was a counterfeit product. They had been led down the garden path. But that didn't mean they were wrong in their research direction. JECA Group's current Tiger main battle mecha might be fake, but this did not mean that JECA Group couldn't develop similar mechas in the future, just perhaps not as large and not necessarily humanoid. While the world was fervently embarking on the research and development of mechas, JECA Group had also officially entered the international stage with this novel approach and was immediately greeted by international major players. Some countries friendly to JECA Group openly recognized JECA Group's rule over Chan Country as legitimate internationally. Neutral countries did not take a stand, while those harboring grievances against JECA Group naturally chose to kick them while they were down. 3 days after the JECA Group parade ended, ASEAN directly chose to make a move, announcing the expulsion of Chan Country from the ASEAN organization, effectively excluding Chan Country from the group and ceasing to include them in activities. The so-called ASEAN is a regional international organization in Southeast Asia, primarily aimed at strengthening economic, trade, and commercial cooperation. Before this, ASEAN consisted of 10 countries: Chan Country, Siam, Temasek, Luzon, Jawa, Rofu, Henan, Jinla, Lansong, and Borneo. The organization now indicating that they would not include Chan Country clearly targeted a specific entity. On the same day, the Prime Minister of Japan, Tsuneshima Shuchi, made a statement. Under JECA Group's rule, Chan Country has completely become an extreme Axis nation. We will sever diplomatic ties with Chan Country and prohibit commercial and economic interactions. The spokesperson for the beautiful country was even more blunt, saying flatly, considering the current changes in the situation, President Lawrence signed an executive order on April 2nd, deciding to freeze $9.5 billion in deposits at the Chan Country Central Bank. He also allocated $9 billion to compensate for our country's material losses during the civil war in Chan Country, while the remaining $500 million are transferred to the New York Federal Reserve Bank to be used for humanitarian aid within Chan Country, but not through JECA Group. This news immediately caused an uproar among the reporters below. A reporter, unable to restrain himself, stood up and asked, "What right does the beautiful country have to freeze another country's assets?" With a smirk, the spokesperson said, "Our freezing of foreign assets is justified by law. The 1977 laws grant the president special economic powers, which allow the transfer of foreign frozen assets to our Federal Reserve Bank for other uses." A reporter from Bear Country stood up and scoffed, "To my knowledge, the reserves of Chan Country Central Bank in the beautiful country belong to all the citizens of Chan Country. Such a unilateral agreement by President Lawrence of the beautiful country is contrary to international norms and laws. In this world, no country has the right to decide to confiscate another country's funds. The beautiful country should return the money to JECA Group. We, the beautiful country, do not recognize JECA Group as the legitimate government of Chan Country. The money belongs to the original government of Chan Country, which is a member of the Eight-Nation Group. As the leading member of the Eight-Nation Group, my beautiful country has the right to dispose of these funds." With an attitude of a dead pig not fearing boiling water, the spokesperson from the beautiful country clearly intended to embezzle the funds and brazenly stated, "If you wish to reclaim this money, then JECA Group must acknowledge the contract debts signed by the former government of Chan Country with our country. We provided successive large-scale loans and material resources to the government of Chan Country, among which military exportation alone amounted to $79 billion, all provided on credit. JECA Group must take on this debt and publicly apologize for the civil war in Chan Country. Otherwise, we, the beautiful country, will never recognize the legitimacy of JECA Group in Chan Country." When this news crossed seas to arrive in Chan Country, other countries in Europe and America also followed suit, freezing the assets of Chan Country banks located in their territories. This is outrageous. It's outright robbery. Talking about $79 billion of military hardware. You sell arms on credit to the government of Chan Country to fight us, and now you want us to repay this military debt. The world indeed has such shameless people. In the office of JECA Group, Lu Yingying exploded with rage upon receiving the news, feeling deep anger at the shameless actions of the beautiful country. $79 billion. The military of the beautiful country sure dares to claim. It seems they are leveraging our JECA Group to clear their debts, knowing that a dead government of Chan Country won't speak. Su Jie, with a mocking smile, patted Lu Yingying on the back and said, "The beautiful country has always been like this. They now face both military and moral failure." The It's clear they do not want to see us prosper economically. If you lose your cool over this, you would be playing right into their hands. But what they're doing is too much. That is clearly our money. Much of it deposits from the citizens of Chan country, and now it's being blatantly seized by them. Lu Yingying was extremely reluctant, finding the beautiful country's move utterly revolting. If others can celebrate the 1st of the month, we can make a big spectacle on the 15th. Su Jie tapped Lu Yingying's head, chuckling. I remember. Domestically, we have many oil and gas field companies invested in by Europe and America. It's time we nationalize them. Chan country is rich in oil and gas resources, with proven oil reserves of 3.1 billion barrels and natural gas reserves of 25,400 billion cubic meters, ranking among the top 10 natural gas reserves in the world. According to statistics, the sector with the most foreign investment in Chan country is the oil and natural gas industry, with a total of 184 projects, a total investment of $28.41 billion, accounting for more than 71% of total foreign investment, because at the time, Chan country had no oil and gas extraction technology and had to rely on these foreign capitals. Upon hearing Su Jie's words, Lu Yingying's eyes lit up immediately. I understand what to do now. Clamping her teeth, Lu Yingying rushed out energetically, determined to show Europe, America, and ASEAN a thing or two. The next day, JECA Group released an announcement directly challenging the beautiful country. To maintain national basic livelihood and energy security, Chan country, starting from today, will nationalize the assets of the following companies and take control: General Electric Company, Caterpillar Company, Chevron Oil Company, ExxonMobil, Royal Shell Oil Company, Total Gas Company, Sumitomo Corporation, Mitsubishi Corporation. All assets of the above companies within the territory of Chan country are nationalized effective immediately. At the moment the news was released, JECA Group had already moved into action. Soldiers occupied these companies to take control and seal them off to prevent intentional damage. These were now the assets of JECA Group and naturally had to be well protected. Following the announcement by JECA Group appearing in international circles, it shocked the world. A huge crowd treated it as a spectacle and discussions were incredibly heated. The companies that were named were dumbfounded. Damn! Where's my money? It was clearly the military-industrial complex of the beautiful country lending funds for arms to the Chan country government. And if Chan country was wiped out and couldn't pay back, they would seize Chan country central bank's money to cover some of their losses. Now, the battle had unexpectedly spread to them. Both the beautiful country and JECA Group's audacious moves stunned the entire world. It looked as if both entities were harming each other, stabbing each other and letting the blood flow, all in the business battlefield. This level of shamelessness was unprecedented. It was like two villains brawling shirtless, using all tactics like throwing lime, kicking the groin, gouging out eyes, completely devoid of any principles or morality. After JECA Group announced the seizure of the oil company's assets, now it was beautiful country's turn to panic, as its commerce and energy departments urgently issued a statement together. Our businessmen's assets in Chan country are legal, primarily aimed at helping Chan country develop oil and gas resources, promote Chan country's international trade, and ensure the stability of its energy supply. JECA Group has no right to seize them. This is a violation of international norms. The oil companies that had their assets seized in Chan country were frantic. These companies held significant power and wanted to retrieve their assets, even mobilizing the energy and commerce departments of the beautiful country. According to our country's Special Economic Law Section 283, we have the right to seize all foreign assets for emergency use. JECA Group responded succinctly. If you asked when this legal regulation was enacted, sorry, it just passed in Congress yesterday. As for those foreign oil company lobbyists pleading for mercy, they were completely ignored, not taking them seriously at all. These foreign oil companies were deeply frustrated, grinding their teeth in anger. Even as frustrated as they were, they couldn't do anything to JECA Group. Had it been other powers or even countries, they might dare to make some moves. But this was JECA Group. No one wanted to test their notorious commercial warfare tactics, fearing they might send out genetic warriors to physically eliminate the competition. In the end, The foreign oil and natural gas companies could only swallow their miseries, tearfully stripped of their wealth, and fled Chan country in disarray, their assets all becoming the spoils of war for Jekka Group. The Jekka Group and the beautiful country heard each other, and seeing how shameless the Jekka Group was, the beautiful country made another move. Chan country did have a navy with 15,000 personnel, mainly operating in the coastal waters of Mengjia Bay and the Andaman Sea. The entire Chan country navy had 2 Jianghu II-type frigates, 3 Inulvio-class light frigates, 1 Yongjiu-class frigate, 2 Jiangshi-II-class frigates, 1 amphibious dock landing ship, 1 Kilo-class submarine and 1 035B conventional submarine, as well as around 20 smaller patrol boats, missile boats, river gunboats, and other equipment, each weighing several hundred tons. The most powerful of these naval ships had a displacement of just over 2,000 tons. This was entirely insignificant in the world of naval powers. The whole Chan country navy was very unremarkable. When the Jekka Group fully occupied Chan country, this naval force naturally surrendered to them as well. On their own, they could not possibly confront the Jekka Group, and their vessels couldn't travel on land. However, at this moment the beautiful country intervened. Previously, due to the beautiful country uniting the members of the 8-nation group to conduct distant water escort operations near Mengjia Bay, they had fought pirates and maintained the safety of the shipping lanes. In reality, this was aimed at blockading the maritime trade routes of the Jekka Group. At that time, Chan country also participated in the distant water escort operation, including 2 indigenously built Jiangshi-II frigates, each with a displacement of 2,500 tons. These frigates were equipped with a 30mm close-in weapon system, Hwacheong-type air defense missiles, a 76mm rapid-firing gun, 2 quad C-802 anti-ship missile launchers, a triple 324mm torpedo launcher, a 5-barrel anti-submarine rocket launcher, 14.5mm multi-barrel machine guns, and they could carry an anti-submarine helicopter. It could be said that although the Jiangshi-II frigates had no reputation in the world and were considered nondescript, small ships, they were nonetheless the most powerful warships of Chan country. While the Chan country navy was surrendering to the Jekka Group, these 2 Jiangshi-II frigates, initially sailing with the 8-nation group's distant water escort fleet, were supposed to return to Chan country's military ports and accept arrangements from the Jekka Group. However, before these 2 Jiangshi-II frigates could leave the distant water escort fleet, they were surrounded by the fleet of the 8-nation group. All of the naval soldiers on board the 2 frigates were detained, and the ships were seized. Recently, the 2 Jiangshi-II frigates opened fire accidentally during escort operations, causing damage to our fleet. Until the truth is confirmed, these ships will be temporarily detained by the 8-nation group and sent to Siam for investigation, and will only be returned after the investigation is clear. This was the statement from the spokesperson for the 8-nation group headquarters. Anyone with clear eyesight could tell that the beautiful country was playing tricks again. Our side will complete the investigation of the incident as soon as possible, and we will not wrongly accuse any good person. This was the response from Siam, following the lead of the beautiful country and deploying a large naval force to complete the handover of the escort of the Jiangshi-II frigates on the high seas. The move was primarily to deter any interference from the Chan country navy, just in case. In terms of naval power, the Siam Navy had a total force of 66,000 personnel, including 20,000 Marine Corps members, 8,000 Air and Coast Defense Command soldiers, and 1,150 Navy aviation troops. In terms of warships, the Siam Navy had 1 light aircraft carrier with a full load displacement of 11,500 tons, 1 Suraj-class integrated supply ship with a full load displacement of 20,000 tons, 1 071E-type dock landing ship of 20,000 tons class, 2 Resilient-class tank landing ships of 8,500 tons full load displacement, 2 3,000-ton class F-25T Narai Song Subin frigates, 4 2,000-ton class 053H2 improved Chow Phraya frigates. The overall strength of the Siam Navy was much stronger than that of the Chan country navy. With such a large deployment of the navy, they naturally did not fear any trouble from the Chan country navy. When the news of the detention of the Jiangshi-II frigates reached Chan country, it caused a huge uproar. Although the Chan country government had already been overthrown, these 2 Jiangshi-II frigates, as the strongest warships built independently by Chan country, held a very important place in the hearts of Chan country's citizens. When they were launched, many people felt a deep pride. Now hearing that the two Jiang Shitu frigates had been detained by the beautiful country, countless Chan country citizens were filled with righteous indignation and spontaneously took to the streets to protest against the actions of the eight-nation group. The Jekka group responded immediately, but not regarding the Jiang Shitu frigates. Facing numerous media cameras, Liu Yingying did not verbally protest against the eight-nation group's detention of the Jiang Shitu frigates, because the beautiful country's thick skin would no longer care about such mere verbal criticisms. To cope with the recent tension in the international situation, our side will carry out a new round of military expansion, planning to expand the army to 500,000 and at the same time build a larger navy and air force, independently researching and producing our naval ships and air force fighters. Liu Yingying spoke of a seemingly unrelated matter, but immediately after, the whole Jekka group began a furious military expansion while one military unit after another began to mobilize. On April 3rd, Jekka Group's 1st Heavy Combined Brigade was deployed to the border with Siam at Sangmo City. On April 5th, Jekka Group's 6th Mechanized Infantry Division, 23rd Mountain Infantry Division, and 2nd Aviation Battalion successively entered the border between Chan Country and Siam. On April 9th, Jekka Group's 3rd Artillery Brigade and 3rd, 9th, 11th, 17th, and 37th Mountain Divisions once again stationed themselves in Songgu Mountain Forest. Troops from the Jekka Group commenced their mobilization and carried out large-scale exercises ostentatiously at the border. At the same time, there were astonished discoveries that the Steel Camp, which had just established outstanding military achievements and received grand decorations, did not return to the barracks but headed straight for the border with Siam.